Welcome to episode 208 of Comic Timing, comics podcast voted to the average comic book fan from the average comic book fan. Join in as Brent Casina, rotating panel of guests, and myself, Ian Legacy, discuss whatever comes to mind, time after time, here on Comic Timing. Do the Comic Timing Rumba. Do the Comic Timing Rumba. We're back for the first time since December. Here now, Comic Timing. Oh, dear Lord, that is the worst dancing, the worst white boy dancing from Mr. Brent Casina to get us started on this episode. Holy hell in a handbag.
Are we the Stone Sour to CGS's Slipknot, or are we like Dio to Black Sabbath and Ronnie James Dio went over there and forgot all about his old band?
I think we're the I have way too few hours in the day to I wish there were more hours in the day. But the answer is Tool and Perfect Circle. That's the correct answer.
I mean, we were first for you, technically.
Yes,
That analogy doesn't work.
That means we're Tool. We're Tool, okay?
Yeah, but so we're in the long gap between 10,000 years and
yes,
and okay,
exactly,
yeah. Right.
Exactly. That's just it. I mean, it's better than saying that we're, Limp Bizkit in any of the various projects that Mr. Durst was a part of.
What? Yeah. Come on.
Even though we started this podcast back when they were slightly still relevant. Anywho, yeah.
No, we didn't. They stopped being relevant in 2003.
I mean, this podcast was around in 2005 and 6 when they were putting out.
Did anyone care about those albums?
When did Mission Impossible 2 come out?
2000.
2000.
Yeah. Damn! Holy shit! Wow, that's
what I'm saying. They were last relevant in 2002 because of My Way.
Okay, all right. Either way, let's introduce people. Brent's back. It's Mr. Casina. What up, Brent?
Hello.
Brandon Christopher with a mic that works.
Hello.
Hello. Top 5 reasons why Raphael Suhu is on this call. I can't think of any of them, but he's here anyway.
5, you asked. 4, I had nothing better to do. 3, I got stuff to say. 2, you presumably want me to say it. 1, people presumably want to hear me. I did it! Fuck yeah!
Yeah!
Let's go!
Yes!
List God! I am the list God! The Zoomers must bow to my superior knowledge.
Oh my god! And I just had to lower my recording a little bit because we've already gone peak Raph scream, and we're only about 3 minutes in.
I'm 38. You're only gonna get one of those every 3 months.
That's true.
I'm
true.
Old.
And
you are the Howard Dean of comic timing. That's what you are.
Hiya! And Chris is here as well.
Hello. I guess I'm the token taco.
You love that moniker. I'm just going to start putting that on each episode.
I think I just need a t-shirt or something. We'll sell it at cons. So you have the group of guy and the one femme in the entire group.
Your little name tag here.
Yeah,
taco.
I mean, look, I'm tired. I feel like garbage, but I was like, no, man, I gotta be on this podcast. Otherwise, it's going to be 4 dudes, or actually, I should say 3 dudes and Raph.
Thank you.
There you go.
In a world of divided nerds, Chris Nautis is the lone femme.
I mean, we only had Donovan or Brandon for a while, and then we added Donovan, and he'll show up later. So I feel like eventually we will add another taco.
That's
affirmative action, guys. Got Donovan, okay?
Hey, listen,
Mr.
You and me both.
We've been diverse ever since Raph was here, so
that's true. Actually,
there's nothing against us.
Since year 1,
and Ian's Jewish, so technically, is he a minority?
It depends on who you ask.
He's the founder.
I'm not a minority in where I'm sitting in New York City. However, I would be a minority if I was in Kentucky or whatever. So that's.
Do you call yourself a BIPOC?
Oh God. No, I'm white.
Yeah, I'm white. Since when did Donovan have a vulva? You just called him a taco. I'm like,
no, I said we added Donovan, So Brandon was no longer the token.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
surely we will find another female at some point.
That's
and you
what-
will no longer be the token taco.
That's what he was trying to say. It didn't
Trying to say, you just lost like several words in there. And I'm
lo-
like, wait, what?
He very slightly lost the narrative, and then it was refound.
So in the
yeah.
comic timing cinematic universe, the next Lone Taco the sequel will have the Taco family, is what you're saying.
If we're operating by MCU standards, then it's going to be a long time because Black Widow took forever to get her movie. So
that's
it's
true.
going to be a while.
And in the time in between the last episode of this show and now, like every single MCU thing has come out. Except for Thor, which is next week, and that's happening.
Our good timing.
Yeah, I know, but hey, reviews are good so far. Reviews are good. Like people who saw it at the screening said that it's moving.
No, those are reactions. Just wait till they type out their review, and they're going to find a way to tear it all down and compare it to Thor Endgame or whatever, and be like, "This isn't as good as anything else."
More like Ragnar suck.
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, yeah, you say the reactions are good. It's basically going to be like it was for Thor Ragnarok. If you like Taika Waititi's style, you'll probably love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom loved it, but my dad was like, "Why was that movie just funny? It was just all jokes." Like he was really confused by it. But my mom's like, "I'm gonna watch this movie again and again and again."
Listen, I love Thor.
Yeah,
and I love himbo Thor, so I'm all in.
Curse smash, have at thee. Just to bring us back to like old school comedy.
Yeah. Also, we should have my mom on the show, and I'm saying that partially keeping in mind she's probably going to listen to this episode since I'm on it.
Probably.
You should you have her on, and she can talk about Thor. It'll be great.
Oh my god. Well,
we could have Amanda on, and she could talk about Thor's abs the whole time, or the butt shot in Love and Thunder.
Well, the last time that she was even on the show was in passing, and it was basically to talk about like why I saw this movie. Well, that one had abs. That one had abs. That one had abs, and that's why I saw this movie. Good night, everybody.
Those are valid reasons.
Yeah, I mean it's true. It's fair.
I mean, she did see the movie, so
yeah.
It's not like she's lying.
And yes, Donovan will be here in a few minutes, and he apparently has something very, 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 very important to ask me. So when we do get on the Donovan train, we'll find out what that is. But here's the important question. It's been like 6 months. Where do we start? Because a lot has happened. I mean, there have been people that we've lost. There have been people who have left their jobs. There have movies that have come out. There have been comics that have been read. Like where do we begin this particular episode? Like where
let's
do we
start with the loss, and then maybe that when Donovan comes in, he'll have something so ridiculous it will cheer us up.
Okay. All right. That's good. Yeah, it's been, I mean, obviously, George Perez passed, since the last time that we talked. And I'm glad that he got to see pretty much, well, not everybody, but like a whole bunch of people in his life that meant a lot to him, got to see him before he went.
And what a gracious and grateful and just like respectable, like if that's the way that everybody gets to die, that should be the goal.
Yeah.
Is if you have a condition like he did where his health was failing or whatever, and just to be like very brave of him just to be like at peace with it and just kind of like not embrace death, but embrace the process of, saying goodbye to people that really meant a lot, and to have JLA Avengers, his momentous achievement in his hands, and not discounting Crisis on Infinite Earths or anything, which I think is probably a bigger achievement, but just for his career, his one long wonder project, that was it. But just to see him go out and like have all those pictures from the different creators that were like, I got to see George today. We talked about this. He was in good health and good spirits, and I don't know who was doing his like social media during that time, as it was really kind of on the decline and he started getting really thin, but I don't know if it's his wife or his children or whatever, but I think they did a really great job just trying to like keep it high level and peaceful and calm and like not happy, but pleasant, I guess. Like there was never a thing of like bad news in it other than when it was announced that he passed. But like, man, if there's a way to go out and it, like that is really, I don't know. And his example has been set, kind of thing.
If you go to George Perez's Facebook page as well, they did post the public memorial that took place at MegaCon the weekend of the convention, where a whole bunch of his family and friends and contemporaries got to pay their respects to the man. And it was incredibly touching all around. I agree entirely, Brent. Like it's great that he got to basically do his victory lap, and that Marvel and DC, even though I still wish there had been more copies in the end. The fact that Marvel and DC were even able to put together a JLA Avengers trade in any way, shape, or form to benefit him.
I wonder if that was like a last minute. I mean, it feels like it was a last minute thing, but I wonder if the print run was a total, like, this is the max amount we can do with the paper shortage and everything else going on. Mm-hmm. Like, I really hope that, I don't know, maybe in 5 years or whatever the next, if they want to celebrate his birthday or an anniversary of his passing or something, they just find a way to reprint that for real on a mass scale. Maybe take a couple years before we get back up to speed with all these shortages, but I'm hoping that that's not the last time you ever see that book.
Yeah, and I doubt it's going to be. I think that when that there will come a time where we'll see it. I just don't know how many years that's going to take. But Raph, Brandon, I want to get your guys' thoughts on George and what he meant to you.
Well, just real quick on the JLA Avengers book, my theory is that they're re-releasing the Busiek Avengers run. Mm-hmm. And JLA Avengers takes place, I think, either near the end or at the end of that run.
Yeah.
So maybe when that concludes, if the numbers justify it, they might do it again.
That's a possibility.
I have no inside information. I no longer work for companies that do.
Yeah.
But that's my theory. In terms of George, man, I mean, like, he's absolutely vital to, like, a lot of, like, stories that I love. I mean, like, the first major event story I read that wasn't like the death of Superman was Crisis. And that's his book. I mean, that's his trademark. Well, at the time, that was his trademark book. I mean, arguably, his trademarks are Crisis, his run on Teen Titans, his run on Wonder Woman, and Avengers and JLA Avengers. I think those are 5 mark runs. And they're all part of, like, my teenage years into, like, my early adulthood. So, I mean, it's profound.
I can't think of another artist that's had as many profound runs and important runs that last other than him. You know what I mean? Like, to have 3 or 4 giant things.
Oh, sure.
Titans, Crisis, Infinity Gauntlet, Avengers, and then JLA Avengers, Wonder Woman on top. Like,
I think he's the last of that breed, honestly, because I mean, there's a handful of others from, like, the like mid early 90s. I would say, like, Jurgens, Byrne,
Pacheco.
John Byrne.
Pacheco, Romita Jr. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are the last, and then everyone else after that, like, Alex Ross's. You're like,
I'm also talking, like, in terms of classic. Like, when you think of people who have runs that are considered classic, like Romita Jr. has a classic Spider-Man run, but does he have a classic anything else?
Romita Jr. definitely has some classic runs. I mean, all over Spider-Man. You can choose any of the runs that he's had on Spider-Man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the variety of George's work the quality of his partners and his art, and that so many are evergreens. Let's call them.
Yeah,
I think. Is a testament to the man.
In the modern day, the only person I can think of is Jurgens with Superman and with Thor, but that's 2 books compared to George's 4 or 5.
And his Booster Gold stuff. I mean, let's not discount that.
Oh yeah. But that's still, like, George has had a lot in the last, like, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
His stuff was really important to me growing up, and I didn't remember. That's why I had that conversation before the podcast. Like, I didn't remember if I met him or not. I think I did. I don't know if we got to, like, really talk. I think it was just, like, he was walking by and I said hey to him, kind of thing. Because I honestly don't remember. It's been
he was at the Heroes Initiative booth that whole con we were at.
Yeah, I think I just literally went by the booth and I said hey because he had a huge line pretty much all the time. That's what I remember. But I don't really remember it that well.
No, I was the one who almost.
I'm glad I at least got to do that. And I'm glad I grew up in a time where his stuff was still in print, and that I collected. I mean, hell, he's if anything, he's the guy that, made sure to remember that Darkhawk was in the Avengers and put him on the cover of the first 2 issues of the Busiek run. And I'll always have that.
Brandon, what were you going to say?
Comic Geek Speak still dissecting that cover, aren't they?
Yes, they are actually. Yeah. In fact, I think they got to the right corner, like maybe 22 minutes ago. It's still going. But that is a classic. Okay, this is being released on the CGS feed. I will remind you all, if you have not listened to the footnotes on JLA Avengers, do so, because that's classic. Podcast.
Absolutely, required listening, honestly, because
I just realized maybe Darkhawk one of those covers. Geez, thank you, George. Oh my God.
You and your
Darkhawk. George has always been one of my top artists, but that he might be my favorite now, just because he remembers Darkhawk exists.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Justice for Darkhawk, man.
Brandon, anything stand out that hasn't been mentioned?
Oh, I mean, he is the person who created my all-time favorite superhero.
Yeah.
Well, one iteration of that superhero, which is Dick Grayson, Nightwing. And Nightwing has been my guy since I've been a kid, and without George's revamping of Dick Grayson to a modern aesthetic, I wouldn't have my favorite superhero.
Definitely.
And it's a testament that so many people have been showing their support of him, and how much that he has meant to them through, not just as creatives, but as people who actually just appreciate his artwork and his art style. I'm not a big art person, but I knew the second that George Perez was on the book, it was going to be something magical, right?
Yeah.
His Wonder Woman, where he redefined the modern day mythology for that character, and was the driving force for that book for 50 issues?
Yeah. Yep.
By single-handedly, because editorial was like, no, we don't care about Wonder Woman. No, he was like, no, you have to give this character respect, and that is just you don't see that. I don't want to say drive, but he had that joie de vivre for all those characters.
We certainly wouldn't have had the Wonder Woman movie that we had without George Perez breathing new life into the character back in the 80s.
Exactly.
I think that what had been happening with her was one of the main reasons why Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, is that it needed a refresh. It needed to bring things new. And George was there to streamline things where it needed to be streamlined and make the character matter again. And really, he got that ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Chris.
Also, Phil Jimenez.
Oh, yes, and Phil Jimenez as well. Well, Phil Jimenez wouldn't exist without George Perez.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, without George Perez.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no question about it. And Phil has said so many a time. In fact, one of the most awesome things that Phil Jimenez has been doing when he has spare time has been basically inking the never released JLA Avengers pages from the 80s on Twitter. And some of the stuff, if you go to Phil Jimenez's Twitter account, you'll see it there. Just what he's been doing in honor of George to try to keep his legacy alive in one way or another. It's absolutely stunning stuff. Chris, is there a specific George that calls out to you, or just the man himself?
I mean, not really. I mean, I've been reading comics seriously since I was about 11, and he was just kind of part of I guess I could say I took him for granted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I do find interesting, and I apologize for whatever the hell is going on in the background here, is like Brett pointed out, that people were able to actually sort of celebrate him while he was still alive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that this is an industry that seems to experience sudden loss a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a small industry means that everyone feels it. So because we think about when Dwayne McDuffie died, and I remember, what's up?
No, we saw him right before he died.
Yeah, it was like 2 days or 1 day beforehand. It might have been his last public event.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly, but I remember sometime after that, I think somebody said like, yeah, you should always tell the people that you care about, you like appreciate them while they're still alive. And I remember going up to like Mark Waid. I was like, Mark Waid, like you said that, so I want to tell you I appreciate you.
Yeah.
He was so confused because then he started talking about Dwayne, and I was like, no, I just wanted you to know that I'm glad you're around. With George, yeah, I would say for me the big standout of his work was the Wonder Woman stuff, just because that the cover, like the art. I'm always really sensitive to how female characters are drawn in comics, just because, there's always either like the sex object thing or the afterthought kind of drawing. And, like you look at his Diana, and she's just so detailed and like joyful and everything. And it's just really nice to look at. But yeah, like I hate to be like, I don't really have strong memories of George Perez. He's just part of the tapestry for me. And
that's as strong a memory as you could have, honestly, that he was part of your reading history in one way, in any way. And honestly, I think he would be happy to hear that too. Just as a creator, that his work mattered, in the way that it did matter. And
yeah, that piece of art you just posted is definitely like a standout. I mean, I think that's a recreation of the original cover, right? Because I remember her hair is way like kinkier in the original drawing. So
I think it might just be a recolor or a re-ink over it, but yeah, that's in general. Just one thing that I loved about George and his draftsmanship was also just the way he could pose people. It's just it was always the perfect pose for the perfect moment. Very, very rarely did anybody ever seem out of place. And
he also didn't shy away from detail.
Yes. Oh my God.
Do you remember Roma Scarlet Witch and like the extra curls in her hair and the extra elaborate designs? Like most artists you would think would be like, okay, I got a deadline, I'm not doing all that. But George is like, no, let me just add all these specific little curls in her hair. I love his art.
Yeah. And
also, that was a great costume. Wanda's Roma-inspired costume.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it too. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And that was right when the Avengers relaunched after some shady, eras of the Avengers where they really didn't matter nearly as much. George helped breathe new life into the Avengers with Kurt Busiek at the helm as well, and really ushered in a brand new era for the Avengers, just like the way that he helped usher in a brand new era for the Titans, years earlier. That I think that in some ways, even you could even go back to that relevancy of thinking that we may not have even gotten the Avengers movies without that particular run, because it catapulted the Avengers back into the popularity sphere with Marvel characters. Before that was freaking Heroes Were Born. Like, come on. Heroes Return, that is. Or no, it was Heroes Were Born, then Heroes Return.
Yeah,
right?
No, Heroes Return is the run that he started, because that's when I started reading Marvel.
Right, exactly.
Back in those early days of 98, I want to say.
Yeah.
97.
and the Dark Ages.
Listen, I love those times. Those are my favorite. Identity Crisis Spider-Man. So good.
Oh my God.
The George Perez storyteller book. I read it through Comixology Unlimited. It used to be on there, and now it says Kindle Unlimited right now. I don't think it's Comixology Unlimited.
The less said about that, the better.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be on Comixology Unlimited. I don't know that you could read for free. But they have the digital version of $10. I don't think it's in print anymore. Actually, it says hardcover. They have 31 for $30. But that was an excellent overview of his career.
Yeah.
From his very beginnings, learning how to draw, to his first book that was published, into Crisis, into Avengers, into JLA Avengers, to the independent stuff he did after that. Just a wonderful retrospective. I think all the way to Legion of Three Worlds.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful look at his career. So if you're a huge George Perez fan or have an interest in learning more about the man and his pursuits and his loves, not just of drawing and art, but his day-to-day life, that is a great book to seek out.
Was Legion of Three Worlds his last sequentials for DC, or was there anything after that?
That might have been the last thing. I think Brave and the Bold was before then, but that might have been the last real main project he did. I know he helped out on some covers and stuff a little bit after that, but I think that was I remember that coming out I feel like there was a gap or something in a couple issues. Like it took a while to
2010, 2011, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because that's Final Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he was on Superman book for a while also.
Yeah. You're right. Yes. Actually,
he was writing and doing the covers. I think, right?
with New 52, he may have even drawn, I think, the first like 2 issues or something like that, and then dropped off.
Yeah, the just the plain Superman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When Morrison was on Action, he was on Superman.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, another luminary of the world. Well, 2 luminaries we lost. We lost Neil Adams a little while after we lost George, and I mean, obviously Neil Adams had lasting impact all over DC and Marvel, and the Batman world, the X-Men world, Superman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. So many important moments you could point to that Neil Adams had a part of. And another one that had such a distinct art style as well. Every time that I saw that Neil Adams was on a book, you could usually tell that it was Neil Adams doing the art, because he had a very simplistic style that also just brought out like all the best characteristics of a character. Even when he was just being simple about it, like there was also a depth of character to each personality that he was drawing on the screen. And yeah, it's sad to see him gone.
Yeah, and that was a surprise also, because I remember he was still doing like his Facebook and Instagram stuff also.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolute shock.
And mind you, I think, I'll have to get confirmation on this, but I think there were even some like 1 or 2 covers that were still coming out after the news that he had at least worked on. I don't know whether or not he had worked on it as file pieces that were then released or what have you, but.
Like Michael Turner's ever like never-ending release cover comic cover releases.
Yeah, Michael Turner's still putting out covers in the year 2022. So
they're going to reuse the Azrael design sketch from Joe Quesada as a cover, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yes. One of the all-time greatest character designs.
Oh my god.
But
some would say
Neil Adams.
Darkhawk.
He was doing stuff like I think he just finished Batman versus Ra's al Ghul or something like that. Like
not too long ago.
He just finished another 12-issue run of just bonkers off the wall stuff. I didn't read the Superman 12-issue thing. I didn't read Batman versus Ra's al Ghul, but I did read Batman Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
Man, that was bonkers.
So I probably have the most Neil Adams stories here, because Neil Adams is inadvertently one of the most important comic book people in my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go last.
Okay.
Oh, you can have my turn if you want it, Ref.
That's fine, man. I mean, I loved his work, but I need to hear everything that you're about to say. So, Ref, please.
Okay. So I probably have told variations of the story before. You guys are on my Facebook, so you've probably seen it. So Neil was very much a pro artist, like pro creator advocate.
Yes.
He advocated for Siegel and Schuster to get credits in Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
He so the way he relates to me is that he runs a studio called Continuity Comics. That's not too far from. It's in Midtown. It's like on 38th Street. It's not too far from the Times Square store I used to work at. And he took on a lot of people. Like he had people working the studio. Mm-hmm. And one of them was this guy named Moses. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned him on the podcast. I probably have, maybe years ago.
Maybe.
But Moses is a guy from the Lower East Side, which is where I grew up. And he eventually, after, he was a ghost artist mostly. He has a lot of uncredited work out there. So, I mean, it's hard to, you can be like, prove it, show me where his work. I can't really, because I've seen his work and I know what it looks like. Mm-hmm. But he's like, he worked with Rich Buckler and he worked with Neil Adams. Both of them all three of them actually have now passed away.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to pull up evidence because I don't remember all the references.
That's
but
fine. Yeah.
the point is, he used to work with Neil, and he opened up the comic book shop that I grew up in. The first one I started going to collect comics in '97. So if Neil never hires this guy and this guy never opens a comic book store, who knows where I am?
Yeah.
In terms of like who I am. So Neil is important to me in that respect. Here's my theory about Batman Odyssey.
Oh boy.
So Moses is he died like a year and a half ago, and he had a wild life. Like he learned escape artistry from Houdini.
Oh wow.
Like he did he's told me stories of things, some of which I don't believe. And as it turned out, he was I found out because one of his students, like who I found like posted on his website that he died, and I read through like his experience with him, and he was paranoid schizophrenic, and my dad was paranoid schizophrenic, so like I seem to be like attuned to paranoid schizophrenics. Okay. But my point is that the way that Batman Odyssey is written, I get the feeling that Neil kind of threw my buddy Moses a break and sort of like took an outline or some ideas he did and like did a book with him. And that is the book, because it sounds a lot like this. It just sounds like that aesthetic. It doesn't sound like Neil at all, right? It doesn't make sense to what Neil's done before, right? It was very different, right? And yet when I read it and when I looked at the art, because Moses is a very distinctive art style, it reminded me of him. And I wonder if that wasn't like one last favor he did for him to kind of get him published in a book, or to at least get him some work.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, like if anyone from the Addams family, Neil Adams' family would like to disprove me, that's fine. But it's also funny because Neil did a movie back in the 80s and Moses was the lead villain, and Neil's kids were the protagonists of the story. They had like this like super powerful like weapon in a teddy bear. It's a trauma movie, so it's like one of those movies. Yeah. Can't find it anywhere. I've been looking for it for literally decades now. It's not available in the US. I don't know where it's available. Trauma won't answer me when I ask them about it. I don't know what to do. But yeah. So like I think in a weird way, like that's what happened with Odyssey. It's a total conspiracy theory. I have no proof. It's just suspicions I have based on my experience with that. And Neil used to come to the store all the time. I mean, my favorite thing now, but not my favorite thing then, was like I'd be closing up at 9 o'clock and be downstairs saying goodnight to people, and I would sweep, and I'd hear someone walking out say we're closed, and then I'd hear a voice go, "Is it closed for Neil Adams?" And it's like, okay, Neil, yes, it's not closed for legendary artist Neil Adams. Please come up. All right, how are you doing, Neil? What's going on? Like I get it. Like it was just we were having fun, we were goofing off. And like I wouldn't dare say like I was friends with him. No, he knew who I was. You were friendly. Yeah, we were friendly. Yeah. So like, but like things like that. The fact that he was really great about creators. That's something I liked about him. That even before I knew him, before I started talking to him, and like I mean, it's weird like that, and because it's like comics is such a tiny world. I mean, I got to meet him. I got to meet someone who worked in comics when I was a teenager, and they've, that's led me to. Okay, let's not go there, but like it's led me to where I am now, sort of.
Well, yeah, but still, though, like, first off, if you haven't become a member of the Lost Media Wiki, you may want to mention that to them, Raph, and see whether or not they can help you on your search, because they're very good about finding stuff that would otherwise be hard to find. So the Lost Media Wiki, Lost Media on Reddit, like any of these places.
Didn't they find the Sesame Street thing?
They did,
like a couple weeks ago.
Yes, very very recently. It got uploaded after a whole bunch.
Yeah. I actually had thought about that when I heard about that story, but I didn't really follow through on it.
Yeah, but give it a shot when you get a chance. But I would say, no, absolutely. Even the contributions of Neil Adams certainly led to you being you in one way or another. So we can. I
mean, if it wasn't, I mean, I think it's kind of inevitable, because like even I was reading comics. It's just that I wasn't going to the comic book store every week.
Sure.
For like, I mean, that started it. So it's been like, December of 97 till now.
Yep.
No, not now. Like, I can't really say that anymore. I don't go to a comic book store anymore, but like, December 1997 to like, 28, like June 2018, August 2018.
Yeah.
Every week in the comic store I was going. So like, it's a run, man. That is a run.
It means a lot, man. It really does.
Yeah.
I haven't read a lot of Neil Adams stuff, so I'm not attached to him I'm not attached to George Perez, but I've read a lot more Perez than I have Neil Adams. But
he's Batman.
Favorite Neil Adams story is listening to the Word Balloon episode he did with John Suntress. Hey, Donovan. And this was like 2005, and I remember I was driving to my grandparents' house. I was in the backseat of my dad's car. I was in college or something on my little iPod Nano. This brings me back.
Yeah.
And Neil Adams is going on stories about just fucking some crazy Pangea, prehistory shit.
He believed in the Hollow Earth, I think. I think he was a Hollow Earth guy.
It wasn't Hollow Earth. It was something other.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of radical and wild. That I was like, it was I think the general idea is that the Earth grows. So like, not that Pangea was together, but that like Earth was smaller and all rock, and then it broke apart based on the plates, and that's why like if you shrink the Earth down with the continents as they are now, they'll all fit together in like somewhat of a sphere, and because it grew, they grew apart and water filled it. Like I said, it was kind of nuts.
Yeah. I know. I've talked to Neil about that before.
But I just remember watching some video after him talking about it on John Suntress's Word Balloon show, and like, that's totally bonkers. So I don't know if I know Suntress recently re-released an old episode.
Yeah. I
don't know if that's the one. It might be. But I also remember him talking about like, I feel like wasn't John Cassaday at Continuity Studios? Like, he probably gave a lot of artists a good start that we have to thank for him today. And also the Jerry Seinfeld B commercial.
That's next
commercial was
that's him.
Continuity.
That's him. Yep.
That was their project.
Nice.
Yep. Because for a while there, that's all he'd ever talk about when I would see him at a convention.
Donovan Morgan Grant joins us officially now. Donovan, what's going on?
Hey guys, how are you? How long y'all been rolling?
About a half hour or so. We talked George Perez, and now we're rolling into Neil Adams.
So these kids, right on the left, they're screaming Yuri, and on the right, they're screaming Yowie.
We'll get
and the
there.
four of us are so confused.
Raph, we'll get there. Donovan, anything that you would want to add about George or Neil? We haven't gotten to Tim yet. That's next.
My last convention that I was at was Dragon Con 2019, and I was at a Marv Wolfman, George Perez on Teen Titans, and asked him a question about why didn't the Titans look into, Terra was basically sexually abused. Why didn't they talk about that? And I think it was mainly Marv that answered it, and Marv signed my copy, but I didn't actually talk to George, and I deeply regret that now. He's incredible talent, obviously. Neil Adams I've met twice. My first Comic-Con I met, and he was, to be completely honest, a bit dismissive. It wasn't really, it wasn't just like, he was kind of just sketching something kind of up to his table, and he did really kind of meet eye contact. But the second time I met him, he came down to Nashville to sign at my comic book shop, and he was very nice, very gracious. Apparently, I learned later that he stayed there longer than was kind of slotted because he got there late, and he signed my copy of Green Lantern, Green Arrow that he did with Daniel O'Neill from the 70s, which is probably my favorite of his work.
Yeah.
Because I love that run, the hard traveling hero stuff. It's absolutely dated, but it's so energetic and earnest that it's eminently rereadable to me, and it's definitely my favorite version of Green Arrow. So, he definitely had enough clout to do more creative, interesting things, or stuff that was interesting to him, like his Batman stuff. I saw that you had his Rachel Gould story from recent years, Batman Odyssey, which was a lot more sort of indulgent to him, but he had long since earned it, not only in terms of his talent, but also what he did with Siegel and Schuster, and just being a strong voice for creatives for decades.
Yeah.
So he could have done whatever he wanted, and he did. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity to honor both him and Perez because they deserve it. I'm just glad that when they finally left, they were under no misunderstanding about how appreciated they were throughout their careers.
Absolutely. Yep. Amen to that. Unfortunately, there's one other person that we have to talk about on this episode, and that is Tim Sale. Now,
That's right.
Tim, talk about a luminary artist, and one that you could easily say has been a part of some of the most important miniseries for characters, whether it be Marvel, whether it be DC, whether it be elsewhere. Daredevil Yellow is a masterpiece. Hulk Gray, Spider-Man
Blue,
Spider-Man
such a hard
Blue,
kick in the
Love that
stomach.
beautiful. And then obviously stuff like Batman Long Halloween, Superman for All Seasons. So many excellent works that I'm so happy that we have, because a lot of this stuff's never going out of print because frankly they're the seminal works for those characters, and Tim was a part of that, whether it be with Jeff Loeb or whether it be with others. He worked on tons of terrific stuff over the years, and it was crushing to hear the news that he had passed. Because talk about one that we didn't see coming.
His style was one that I think when I first read Long Halloween, I think it was the second Batman trade paperback I ever read. Mm-hmm. First one was Dark Knight Returns. The second one was Long Halloween. I remember reading it and thinking the style was weird, but the story was so good and the characters were so well done and well drawn and kind of fun and kooky and cool that I feel like the 6th issue, I was all in on his style. And then to see him kind of branch out and go mainstream when Heroes was on 15 years ago. And he was the artist behind that painter character that had all
Captain
the
Rios
stuff. And to see his style kind of blown up on the big screen, so to speak, as big as your screen got back in the day. But, to get that sort of attention as an artist, I thought was really cool and well-deserved for him. So.
Yeah. I'm still kind of thinking about it, that I'm super duper thrilled that we had him as long as we did, but I'm just damn, but that's where we are right now. I mean, you never know how much more time you may have to appreciate an artist, but super duper glad that we have what we have.
Feels like Darwin Cook in that he was just so sudden, and he was such a universally celebrated artist that it was just this is the time to really let people know what he meant to the industry. But because with Perez, of course, we had known for months how his health was, and even though Neil Adams wasn't a similar case, he was an elder statesman of the comic book industry. I mean, Tim Sale was 60 or his early 60s, and in the modern age, that's not typically elderly. But yeah, my favorite stuff. I think the first thing that I saw from Tim Sale was I know it's collected. It was the Legends of the Dark Knight story with the Cavalier.
Yeah.
I saw that as a little kid. I thought that was very, 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 very striking. Of course, when you're that young, you don't really connect the name to the artist immediately, but just the way he kind of do this sort of shadowy violence and stuff. And obviously, like Long Halloween, Dark Victory. My favorite stuff that he did was Spider-Man Blue. I would genuinely listen to that or read that story with Miles Davis playing on my little iPod, just because it had such a terrific atmosphere of it. I actually need to reread that story.
That entire series of color books that he did for Marvel. Really are such great character pieces. I know Captain America White had some production issues and delays and what have you, but even that one collected it says a lot about the character, and frankly everything. Daredevil Yellow to me is the one that I gravitate to the most after Spider-Man Blue, because I feel like that also just really gets to the heart and soul of the character. But his depiction of Hulk in Hulk Gray, you don't get a better Hulk than that. You really don't. He gets the tortured existence of the Hulk down perfect in those pages, and I love it for it. Here's that Cavalier story you were mentioning, Donovan.
Yeah, Blades by James Robertson. That was collected in like a Legends of the Dark Knight story with some other stories. It has a Brian Bolland cover, but like that it was a 3-parter.
Yep.
And at the time I didn't know that the Cavalier was an older character, but like I just found it to be very, very, very striking. Of course, like Haunt at Night, where he has those Halloween stories and that Mad Hatter story, like his versions of the various villains, like Joker and Scarecrow and Catwoman is just. I don't want to get too much into this, but I really resent that the animated adaptation of Long Halloween didn't try to at least invoke his style, because his style sells that book. I mean, yeah, Jeff Loeb writes a compelling mystery story, but man, that's Tim Sale's, like, I don't want to say magnum opus, but that's one of his like masterworks.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and it's. I feel like DC's animateds have unfortunately drifted away a little bit from trying to mimic the style of the artist. They kind of have their house style that they go with a lot of the animated movies, and I mean that works just fine for it. But yeah, for an artist like Tim Sale, I think it would have been so striking had they tried to at least get close to it in animation. But can't win them all, I guess.
I think his version of Two-Face is the first one where like the scarred face is completely scarred. Like there's not even any hair. I think that's the first time I ever saw someone do that.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Any final thoughts on Tim before we move on?
Yeah. No, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, no one mentioned my first experience with Tim Sale was actually the Wolverine Gambit miniseries from the.
I was thinking about that actually.
And I mean, the thing is, like, I read it. It was a little bit like the tone was weird because this was also probably my first experience with Jeff Loeb as well. Like, I can't say I loved it, but I was intrigued by it. And then, like, years later, everybody's like, "Oh my God, The Long Halloween is the greatest thing I've ever read," and I'm like, why does that look familiar? And it just like clicked. And now I'm just thinking like Donovan, I'm like, yeah, I gotta reread some stuff.
Yeah. No, I had completely forgotten that existed until 2 seconds ago.
It's solid. Yeah. Like, it's not a classic of the genre. It's definitely one of those miniseries that exist purely because they were just trying to put out as many miniseries, as many number ones as possible. But it is a solid, Wolverine Gambit story. And yeah, that is gorgeous. I mean, come on.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. What a rendering of Wolverine. Like, that's, oh man.
I can almost feel the Drill Claw coming.
Yeah.
That's my favorite X-Men villain in the arcade.
Wow. Do you have bone claws in that?
Claw.
They look
bony. Wait, is that before?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that is Bone Claw. Okay. Yeah.
It was just because remember, Bone Claws happened in '94. That was Fatal Attractions.
Got it.
Like I just said, the series I think was 95 or 96. So
yes,
this was Bone Claw era.
Nice. Yeah. Whew, boy. All right. Okay. Hey, Marvel Unlimited, you're gonna get that read in the next week or so because I can do that because it has everything, almost everything. It does.
I love it. So I was just gonna say it's interesting because it's interesting because Donna mentioned Darwin Cook, and it's like those Darwin and Tim kind of represent the new age comic artist superstar.
Whereas
21st century,
yeah. Neil and George are sort of the classics. It's like those the original art. Kirby is defined by being God and creating everything with Stan.
Yeah.
Or Romita. Both Romitas are definitive Spider-Man artists, and Neil's did Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and this. Whereas Darwin, it's all miniseries. Most of his work that people love is miniseries. It's like The Spirit, New Frontier. I'm blanking on a couple of Darwin's works now, but or in Tim Sale's case,
Parker and stuff.
Yeah, Parker, Long Halloween. I mean, that's a miniseries.
Yep.
Dark Victory, Superman for All Seasons, which is my non-Long Halloween favorite because Superman. Even the Marvel series, they're all standalones. They're all not meant to continue forward. Whereas, George worked, I think, 3-4 years on Avengers, for example.
Yeah,
it's just it's an interesting break from from the old style of making your name in comics.
That image of Gambit and Shadow is awesome.
Yeah.
I actually should say that I spent my first paycheck on a George Perez comic.
Oh yeah.
When
nice.
I first worked, when I was 15 years old, I spent my first paycheck on a copy of the Judas Contract.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Good call.
Yep.
was gonna say real quick, like about Tim Sale. Like I recently just picked up the black and white version of Dark Victory a couple months back.
Yeah.
And it is like the stark contrast of seeing it in color and just seeing it in pure black and white. It is, especially with I got the oversized version. It is just the amount of style that just oozes out of Tim Sale book is just ridiculous. Sometimes it is very much of like in seeing it in like the oversized, and especially in the oversized, you just see how much of a love he had for the craft of just drawing characters and making art out of them. And it's just it's going to be something that's going to stick with me for a long time. Of like, I keep saying I'm not really a big art person. I mean, I love art, but like it's, you know, you can, when it's creators like Sale, Perez, Neil Adams, it's easy to appreciate the art and the mastery that they have for it also.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I found a piece. It's not from that particular edition you're talking about. This is actual, just straight up pencils from it on Heritage Auctions. But like, holy cow!
Yes,
so cool,
man.
That's inked.
Yeah, that's inked. Yeah, that is.
Batman's fist is huge.
Yes. As well it should be, as he's punching Two-Face with
yeah, that's Kirby-esque.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, because like his fist is bigger than Robin's torso almost.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but that's all perspective, and that's all adding to the action of it all, which is something that Tim was a master at.
Dynamism, straight up.
Yep, definitely. All right, well, I mean, here's to those, you know. I mean, it's gonna happen, and like I said, the good thing about the medium that we're all fans of here is that the works aren't going anywhere. You know, that they're all out there for us to enjoy for years to come, in one way or another, and that's keeping people in the ether and keeping people in the public eye. Just like, you know, you can watch a Bogart movie in 2022 and completely understand why he was the actor that he was while he was around. So,
yeah, streaming services, stop taking stuff off your streaming services.
and I'm sorry to report that the Supreme Court just ruled that we're not allowed to read Marvel and DC comics anymore.
Damn it!
Mother.
This is why you vote, people.
And this is why I'm going to become a pirate. That's it. Just straight up. Yar. Yar.
The old days all over again.
Oh my god.
So I'm gonna pull a Voyager and I'm gonna find a stranded time shuttle. I'm gonna kidnap the captain. I'm gonna take the shuttle and I'm just gonna wreak havoc on the timeline.
Okay.
I want to know what Donovan's question he came up with was.
I was just transitioning over to that. Like, I need to know.
And they just wouldn't stop, Donald. I mean, it was horrifying.
Okay, Raph, hold on. We'll get there. Okay, hold on. Now, in the chat before we started recording, Donovan was like, I can't wait to get on because I have a question for Ian that I have to ask. So, Donovan, please, I must know. What do you got?
Okay, so it wasn't really a question. It was more of tiny bit of Irish.
Yeah.
It was a Batman. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or save that for later.
We can talk about it now. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. It's about like the Comic Geek Speak review.
Yes. Here we go.
Okay, so first of all, the Batman, I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So I have like no problems, no notes. It's not anything that like this doesn't really involve like my personal feelings of the movie exactly.
Yeah.
But the Comic Geek Speak review, which I listened to for the most part, was majorly characterized as the Batman is awesome because the Nolan trilogy sucks.
That's not what we were trying to do. Nah.
It seemed like it spent a lot of time kind of comparing and contrasting and building up the review.
Yeah.
Because it got into things like, and you know, this is where the conversation comes from. It went from like, you know, okay, well, this is what Reeves is doing.
Yeah.
This is what he's doing in contrast to previous directors, to stuff like, you know, there's not much Alfred in this movie, which is so good because the Nolan trilogy had so much Alfred, or the car is not a military vehicle, because it's so good because the last movie had all the military vehicles. And I thought that like it was endemic of a style of review that I felt that like we generally have kind of moved beyond.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, you know, I first listened to Comic Timing with your with the episodes you guys did leading up to The Dark Knight, in which you looked at all the other previous Batman films, and we're kind of doing the same thing, like from the Burton movies to the Schumacher movies to up to Batman Begins. Yeah. And I think we all know now that, like, some movies are better than others, but these characters are going to exist farther than, you know, we'll stay alive.
Oh, sure.
And the style is much more of a dynamic thing than, like, kind of like, you know, I guess like the accuracy barometer.
Yeah.
I just thought it got a little bit fraught in terms of, like, it did feel to me in listening to it as sort of like a qualifying its quality by comparing and contrasting to the previous trilogy. And I was like, you can, again, I really like the movie. I can talk about the movie without comparing it to, like, the Snyder stuff. So I thought that it kind of went into an area which I was like, I gotta talk to him about this. But that's how I listen to the episode if I'm, like, off base.
That's fine, and I'm happy to respond in the way that I was trying to, at least attempting to do it. And
we thought he was going to have this off the wall topic.
I know. I swore we were going to go straight MegaCon with this, but instead we'll get there.
No Batman movie can consider itself good unless they have a villain a tenth as good as Tom Hardy's Bane. Okay.
Your punishment.
God damn.
Your punishment will be
where is after Ian, I have a lot.
Where is the leave meeting button for this?
You think I'm joking? You think I am joking a little.
Tom Hardy's Bane was good.
Tommy's Bane. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not going to slander, and I'm not.
I just think the voice is fun to make fun of, but I legit love the character.
Whatever are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm not intending to trust myself as, like, you know, it's never going to be as good as those films. Because obviously, you know, there's room for improvement. I just thought that, like, it went from, like, you know, the awesome qualities of this movie are good because they're not what the previous trilogy did.
Yeah, well,
which I don't think is right.
What I think we were trying to at least get across is that there are very different ways that you can do Batman. And if we happen, you know, as a group to get too far into the weeds of, you know, oh, well, I mean, you know, this is better than that or whatever, that's not really what we were intending. I think what we were really trying to get across is that, and I mean, this is one of the things that I appreciate the most about the Batman movies, is that each one really does give a different facet of Batman in such a unique and distinctive way. And I think that this new iteration that Reeves put out there is just easily the most detective that he's been. And, you know, Nolan's trilogy, I'm not like, I mean, I said this on the review, and I mean, I'll just say it again here. I'm not like 100% on the Nolan trilogy, and I never really have been. I think they're great movies, but they're not like the be all end all for me. What I think, and maybe I didn't get this across at the time, but I'll say it again here now. What I need to get across is that each one of them is good for their own reasons. And I think that the Christopher Nolan Batman is very much a Christopher Nolan Batman, as in it's a Christopher Nolan movie. It's all about the headspace. It's all about the trippy dippy whippy, and it's all about you know, almost more about the villains than it is about Batman at times. But then again, that's a problem with a lot of the Batman movies to begin with.
That's a lot of Batman movies.
Yeah, so
well, if I could step in on that, though.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. Like, I think one of the things that does stand out about this newest take on the Batman is that I feel like the movie was actually about his character growth.
Yes.
Because it's all about him being like, I am vengeance. It's like, oh, it was a terrible idea because now I've totally like radicalized a bunch of incels. Maybe I need to do something different. And I think that's what made this movie stand out a little bit more. I'll admit, I actually teared up a little bit in the theater when he had the lit torch. I know some people found that scene cheesy as fuck. I loved it. I was sobbing. I was just like, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. What's funny about saying, like, if we compare it to previous movies, is that every time we're all like, this is the most accurate Batman movie ever.
Yes.
Like 1989, and then 2005, and now 2022. We're just like,
it happens without fail.
Oh, absolutely.
Some assholes thought BVS was the most accurate Batman movie.
Oh, the Batfleck sense will. Well, no, if you look like, you know, if you go from the 60s show, which was very popular, and then to
Batman and
89, Kevin Smith will say, like 89 was the true Batman, and then you go to like the Schumacher stuff. It's like, well, it's not as dark as the original stuff, but this takes, this captures the psychology of Batman and Batman Forever.
Yeah.
And then the Nolan stuff, everyone was saying, this captures like what stands for and all this kind of stuff. And then with BVS, it's like the costume's accurate, and he quote Dark Knight Returns, and then here it's like he's finally detective. Like, I feel that there's like a real lack of hindsight.
I really
this
hold
repeats
on,
all
hold
the time.
on. Dono, I want that on the back of the Blu-ray for BVS. By the way, the costume's accurate.
The purest adaptation is Batman and Robin because it perfectly emulates the 1966 Batman.
I wouldn't say perfectly.
I mean, it just takes the camp and just makes it even, just pushes it to like 57 on a, and also like all the like homoerotic undertones are just not undertones anymore. That's all it did.
What we've all got to realize is two things.
Yeah.
That the Batman franchise is now like the Bond franchise.
Oh, yeah.
There are different eras, and they're all going to have their own tones and their own qualities, and one is going to differ varying or vaguely or wildly from the last. But at the same time, you can't do Casino Royale, Daniel Craig Bond without all the stuff that came before.
Absolutely.
There was a necessary change because of the sameness or the rehashedness that they were like completely fresh take. He's, not a super spy. There's no parachuting on tidal waves, whatever. It's all realism. And then the Batman Begins stuff with Nolan was the beginning of that thing. And we swung back the other way with Snyder and where he lives. And now we've swung back the opposite direction to we thought we were getting a realistic Batman with Nolan, but now we're getting the ultra realistic Batman with what Matt Reeves is doing. And while I would like to see it swing back a little bit the other way, but less of a I'm going to kill everybody take than Snyder did. I do appreciate this Batman movie, The Batman. I really did like it. Just a tad too long, but really did think it had a lot of strong qualities. But you got to judge it on its own merits, and that's something that we got to realize. And at the same time, Chris Nolan's shit was the best thing we ever saw. I mean, Dark Knight came out the year Iron Man did.
Yeah.
The MCU wasn't even born.
What a year.
Was really born.
Yeah.
Good year.
When Dark Knight came out.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time Nolan's trilogy wrapped up in 2012, the Avengers had come out, and that steam ball, that snowball was starting to get going to where like now, it looks quaint and very kind of 2000s or 90s-ish in terms of what we're getting now with comic book superheroes and movie accurate costumes and colors. I mean, if they fucking recast Wolverine and put him in yellow spandex, that'll be the day, and we can just quit all there.
Yep. Yeah, and there's like finally we'll get an accurate Wolverine at long last, and like I just don't like the implication that like we've been suffering for 20 years.
5'3" or bust. 5'3" or bust.
I also swear to God we didn't say that because like I don't think we've been suffering for 20 years. I think
you may not have done it, but it did feel like it kind of came across that way. And if I don't want to like if you say that that's not what you meant, then that's not what you meant. I don't want to put words in your mouth exactly.
No.
But I got the sentiment that there was this sense of like finally somebody understands it. And you said that 10 years ago when you guys were talking about Dark Knight and Batman Begins, which I wouldn't disagree with. But to me, it's just like we got to recognize how often this happens with every new version that's good.
Yes.
It's like, oh, finally, it's good. It's like, no, they're all good. They're all good.
You're gonna get something different every time with a DC movie because they keep rehashing the same story or with a new version of the character.
Now we get a musical
the Marvel
Joker.
universe. The Marvel universe has decided to just continue all the way across.
Yeah.
So I feel like unless Kevin Feige leaves or retires in 25 years, who knows? That's when you'll get a new version of Iron Man. But until he does, you're not going to get that same quality of Marvel. So it's like you're going to get something new to compare to with these DC films as opposed to Marvel, where it's just like, you can't compare Captain America Sam Wilson to Captain America such and such because it's not the same character.
So what you're saying is
this DC is going to be a DC problem. The same way it is if like they make a fourth Hellboy movie or whatever. Like it's not going to live with Marvel, so you're always going to get this with this type of movie because they're renewing it constantly.
So the MCU is going to end with a crisis on multiple Earths.
No.
And then it'll just start all over.
It's going to be a secret.
With Robert Downey IV playing Iron Man.
It's going to be a secret war, Raph, and you know it. But
that's coming too soon.
No, Raph, it's not Robert Downey IV. It is just Robert Downey because he's actually an Eternal, remember?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Right. My mom really likes Kingo Senior. I don't know what's up with that.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about I think one of the things that struck me about this, and this is something that I mentioned in the review, and I think that this is also something that hopefully you guys will be able to touch on as well. One of the things that really struck me about this version of Batman that made it stand out from the others is that I related to it from the Batman comics that I had been reading when I started reading Batman. And even to today, this was the most modern take, I feel like, of Batman.
I agree with that. I actually really, I hate to say, related to this Bruce in a way I didn't relate to other Bruces. With your permission, I'd love to read my favorite review of this movie. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yes, I know exactly.
You know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. This is from Letterboxd. It's user Nick Wibbert.
Yeah.
And he said he gave it 4 stars, and he wrote, "I just love how fucking disgusting Bruce looks in this. Nasty ass, stringy ass, translucently pale goth boy in his dank, disgusting bat cave, hunched over his computer with bloodshot eyes and black eye paint, scrolling footage of the previous night and journaling his fucked up thoughts."
This is a totally live journal Batman. That's what this
really is.
When he finally emerges from the cave to talk to Alfred and gets disturbed by the natural sunlight and has to put on sunglasses, I wanted to get up and cheer. Yeah, that's right. Put on those sunglasses, you little freak. Also, he's definitely a virgin based on how he composes himself around Catwoman.
And that's the thing. It takes an incel to bring incels up.
Yeah. It ends with fucking fantastic movie. And that's how I feel about this movie. Watch it and I think of this review and I'm like, yeah, you put on those sunglasses. Your hair needs to be washed, Bruce.
We went from Giga Chad Batman with Batfleck to incel Batman with...
I wouldn't say incel. He's like a Volcel.
That's the thing. But the thing with that is... incels can't tell the difference, and that's the whole point of the movie, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, like take the sexuality of it. Like
Riddler is an incel, not Batman.
Batman is the whole idea is Batman is a symbol of hope. It's like a reactionary. He's a reactionary symbol of hope, but we don't want a reactionary symbol of hope. We want someone who actually do something and fix the system and make it right, rather than tear it all down and destroy it. Yeah. Although in real life, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's that fine balance of like the system is broken. You're a part of the system. In fact, your parents simultaneously tried to fix the system and break the system at the same time, right? And you've got to make a choice. You didn't know that. You're just angry at the system that's broken. Yeah. And then you find out, oh shit, my parents were a part of it. Oh shit, they created the problem that they and I have created the solution for it. Oh shit, it's a terrible fucking solution. Oh shit, I gotta change my behavior because I'm causing this solution. Yeah. And it's like,
there are a lot of people who opine that there's hardly any Bruce Wayne. This is that's actually the point of the movie. Yeah. Like the reason why he
has no identity.
He's not ready to.
Well, the reason why he is prickish to Alfred. That's not a style. That's part of the plot. Yeah. Because after the end of this, he understands not only does he have to be close with Alfred, but a Bruce Wayne separate identity would benefit his war on crime. Yeah. And he doesn't realize that yet. And this movie points that out in various avenues, which is
being the violent monster doesn't work. Yeah. He tried. He even says in the beginning it's not working. And then he sees, oh shit, it's really not working. I have to, and then I think that's the whole point of the movie is he has to embrace Bruce Wayne. He has to actually try to work the system, and he has to be vigilant as Bruce and as Batman. Yeah. Because as Bruce, he can use the money his father tried to wait, make sure that no one touches it. And as Batman, when people touch it, he can beat the ever living shit out of them. And actually benefit the people around him by making sure none of that money goes to corrupt people by breaking their bones and putting them in jail, only to let them come out, let them be released later in a sequel. But that's the sequel problem.
I'm also super duper glad that we keep getting good versions of Commissioner Gordon now. You know, that each version has given us a different facet. Just like we get a different facet of Batman each time, each version has given us a different facet of Commissioner Gordon and the relationship between Batman and Gordon. Like, I feel like this one, you could read the friendship in the room. They're contemporaries in some ways, and I really appreciate the acting tour de force that Jeffrey Wright always is, but his Commissioner Gordon was terrific in this, just like Nolan's Commissioner Gordon is terrific as well. I mean, sorry, he's not Commissioner yet in this Batman. He's just Gordon, but you know what I mean.
They had the best relationship. Like they were homies the entire time. It was amazing.
Yes.
This Batman movie actually felt like it was written and directed by a guy who's been reading the same Batman comics we've all been reading since 1992.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
You got echoes of No Man's Land in here, with Batman staying out in the daylight at the end, helping people up. Like
Long Halloween.
The relationship with Gordon is straight out of the Gordon thing is straight out of No Man's Land, and I want to call that Bruce Murderer, Fugitive. Zero Year, more, but this is more like the 90s. Like, I'm sure Matt Reeves is probably like in his 40s, so maybe in his teens or 20s. The same way we're kind of getting that old too, but like,
stop reminding me.
Like this is felt like somebody who actually read a whole bunch of Batman comics, understood the character, as opposed to. And I love Chris Nolan, but Chris Nolan's movies feel very like, hey, here's a stack of books that we really, really like from the studio. Mm-hmm. Go read these and then form your Batman film off this, because it's all of these, like, Dark Knight Returns, Long Halloween, the one where
it's a bestseller. So everyone's read those. It's not special.
It's stuff everyone's read, where this definitely had things from more modern takes and even just strange stuff that it was like, this is definitely a Batman fan's film.
It's a tone thing instead of a plot thing, because I think that's the thing with Nolan. It's all plot, and the tone is Nolan's own tone, which is kind of disturbing at times, because Batman is also really hyper reactionary, because it's post 9/11 George W. Bush era, Batman, and it's just like, okay, I gotta find a Joker. Let me create a surveillance state that observes everyone, but only I can be trusted with it. And because I'm Batman, I'm good. Well, we have that in real life.
I mean, that's not unlike the comics, though. I'm not.
Oh no, yeah, come on, not. Yeah, come on, man.
Like Batman. I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, like, I think what the Batman does better than anything else has so far in the movies is Batman. I mean, like, people joke about it. Batman's problematic. Batman's an issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, but the last time I saw anyone deal with this really well, and I think this is why people still love it, is the animated series. See Bruce Wayne, he is active in the Wayne Foundation. Mm-hmm. He does things. He creates programs. Sometimes he doesn't beat the crap out of the criminal. He sends them to rehab, or sends them to work, or sends them to like something that helps change his life around. You don't get that in the because the Schumacher stuff's way too camp and cartoony. The Nolan stuff is a lot darker and a lot more like serious and a lot more surveillance state. And then with this one, we don't get that in the Batman, but we're starting to get glimpses of it, right? Like,
well, I don't think personally that the Nolan movies wrenched their visual vision a bazillion miles away Batman character, but it was very much a Batman movie of its times.
Oh, definitely.
What this one does, and where I knew that we were in good hands, is that because Matt Reeves was bigging up Batman Ego, which is my favorite one shot. Yes. And the fact that, like, the film ends the way that comic ends, with him saying it's not about vengeance, it's about justice, it's about hope. Mm-hmm. That's Bruce Wayne's character. That's the moment from Bruce Wayne Fugitive, where he realizes Bruce Wayne's not the mask. I am Bruce Wayne, and Batman's what I do. That's the more human element that, if you read the comics over years, you understand that far more than the edgelord psychotic stuff that a lot of people who don't know the character dig into, because they're coming at it from an external outside place. And I will agree with you. It feels as though that, like, Reeves and to a lesser extent Pattinson come at this as fans of the character, rather than applying their sensibilities to the character. I think that's accurate.
You want to know how I knew we were in good hands, Donovan? Batman could turn his fucking neck. Okay?
I mean, he's been able to do that since The Dark Knight. That's not fresh.
But can we talk about how, like, such a figure is cut in that costume, though?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there is that opening scene when he just emerges from the shadow, right? And it's just the long footsteps, right? And you just see him, and he doesn't look larger than life in that scene, but he just looks still imposing. Well, that shows that they understand the tone of the character, the pathos of the character, just within the first 10 minutes of that movie, right?
The monologue, I think, is the best part of the film. It's so good.
It is amazing. The open monologue is just like, okay, yeah, you get it. We're good here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This took a new level to I thought I was going to be a little annoyed with this thing of like, we're going to make this super practical. And I was like, dude, did we already do that with Nolan? But he still had his like, not mystical, somewhat mystical stuff, but in terms of technology, like really wild sci-fi, like there's a cave jumping suit that deflects bullets. Like, who the fuck is developing that? But this one felt real. And I did love the thing about his, the wrists. I don't know. You know, in the Nolan movies, there are like these blades that fire out at people and all this other stuff. And in this movie, they were an afterthought. They weren't even designed. They're just there. And you're like, what are they? And you see them moving and they wobble around. And you're like, why is this thing why is it made of rubber? Why is it moving? And then you watch this film like a third time. And then I'm looking at it. I'm going, wait a minute. Those are the fucking straps for his arm gauntlets that have all the grappling hooks. Mm-hmm. And that's just him pulling the strap as tight as it can along his arm. Yep. And it just ends up being the length, wink, wink, that it should be in order to create that silhouette. And that's why they're floppy. I was like, that's a neat little detail that makes him cut this figure that in the dark against this fire silhouette that you're like, what the hell is that? I don't even know. And it's like, you know, that might evolve into something in future films. I don't know. We'll see. But I just love that even that was just like, you know, yeah, we're Batman, but I'm not going to think about putting arm blades on my arm to fucking kill people or cut swords with. Like, that's not the world that this guy comes from.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the only things that I would have liked, and again, I really appreciate the movie. I really enjoy it. It's not my favorite, but it's up there. But I wish he were, you know, a bit more of a master fighter. I wish we saw more batarangs. I like the signature stuff. I do. I hope in the next movie he has a much more traditional costume. But I understand this is kind of like when I'm kind of coming into this, but I understand that every single time we do this, it's going to be different. It's not going to be a chance to do it right, or it's going to be much more of like what the director can visualize from it. And I'm at the age now where I accept that. And so I really don't love the costume because I'm not a fan of the whole like puzzle piece. You know, it doesn't cut a figure, but like, you know, at the same time, I didn't like the whole I can't move in this leather suit anyway. So like I am always looking for the stuff that like evokes comics more, and where this one did excel was the character stuff, was the psychology, was the stuff that like where there is a lot of, this is a very political film, and some people caught on that more than others, like the guy whining that like there are no good white people in the movie, which was funny, but like I think that like that makes it a healthier Batman iteration to enjoy compared to the ones we have gotten, because you know, even the Dark Knight Rises, my co-host Harry, who really likes Dark Knight Rises, said it is a fascist parable.
Oh yeah.
So you have to not only have some caveats, but also kind of recognize thematically what they're going for. This one is a much more readily acceptable one to kind of keep as one of the better ones.
Okay.
This is my number 2 Batman film. Dark Knight and The Batman.
It's up there for me. 2. It's definitely up there.
It may very well be my number 1, honestly. I'll need to watch it all the way through again one more time, but
DK is hard to beat, man.
It is very hard to beat, but I'm still a firm proponent after seeing The Dark Knight multiple times that I still feel like that last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie doesn't even really need to be there.
I knew you were going to say that because I fully agree. I mean, mind you, we saw it together. We were both like, why is this movie still going?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a great movie, but then it just keeps going.
But that movie's longer.
With this movie too, I felt that way with this movie too. Like those last 20 minutes of these 3 hours, like, you know, all right. I feel like movies need to, if you're going to end your villain story 20 minutes before the movie ends, then you don't need the last 20 minutes. Find a way to end the story there. Like that. I mean, as beautiful as it was, as neat as it was, as important as it was to become a symbol of hope and all that. Yeah. Just, I don't know, squish it a little more.
So, it's very much the
This did not need to be 3 hours. I mean, let's not kid. There's no reason this is 3 hours.
It is a much better 3 hours than a certain movie that certain people on Twitter got after us about a year after we released the review of. So I think this deserves it deserves it more. I can agree that there are parts that could easily be cut though. That I'll straight up say, but it certainly does a good job of at least letting people know why it's 3 hours rather than being
I don't feel it.
I think you could have cut the whole El Rata Lana bullshit. That like drove me nuts, especially as a Spanish speaker. I'm like, Bruce, how are you this fucking stupid?
The part where like Riddler's like, you know, like, did you figure out my riddle? And Batman's like, a stool pigeon. Or is it the penguin? And Riddler's like, okay, I'm gonna need to give you more clues. Let's start over.
You're not as smart as I thought you were.
You're a great detective, but you're also not. You're really not.
I love that because he solved every riddle at the scene of the crime, but when like he's actually actively trying to solve the overall riddle, he's way off base.
Exactly. Yeah.
He thought that Riddler knew who he was, and he did it. That was great.
You could tell like there was definitely something here. Like I know they talked in some EPKs and stuff about how like Michael Giacchino wrote that Batman's sound, that score, the theme,
the Sith theme.
So good.
You mean the goddamn theme?
I don't know.
Come on, it was so obvious.
Take that, you add the Kurt Cobain angle plus the song, and I feel like that kind of molds this feeling of that twang. That they open the film with, and it's like this is the mood of the film. Therefore, we have to go super slow, and like shots. It's artistic though because shots run long. They slow pans on everything. Like there's no whip pans or anything in here. It's not a Michael Bay film. It's distinctly like pulling from that initial mood, that initial feeling from the monologue that Donovan loves so much. And I'm a fan of it too. I'm not being disrespectful or anything. I'm just pointing it out that you said you loved it. But I really do feel like that feeling adds to the movie's length deliberately, not because it all needs to be there, but because they're like, I want this to feel like the longest night of your life.
Yes.
Which is kind of what this movie was.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my vision for the trilogy, right?
Here we go.
You start off with this angry young man who wants to tear down the system because it's screwed up. It murdered his parents. It's destroying the city.
Yeah.
The Batman, right? The next movie, he realizes he needs his humanity. He needs to not just be Batman. He needs to be Bruce Wayne. He tries to do the right thing as Bruce Wayne. Something happens with whatever villain you want to do. It blows up in his face. Batman, Knight of Gotham. The third movie, he puts it all together.
Yeah.
He utilizes the combination of his resources as Bruce Wayne and his resources as the Batman. The city, he does what very few of his predecessors have done and actually improve the city for the better. I am Batman. I am vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman.
Okay. All right.
Alan Burnett and Bruce Timm and Paul Dini royalties if you do that.
Please do. They need to be paid. They deserve it. They deserve it. Please do.
It's true.
It's true.
Come on. It's arguably still one of the greatest non-comic Batman representations ever.
Oh, yeah.
Even now, 30 years later.
I wouldn't argue. See, my favorite Batman movie, period, is Master Phantasm. I mean, they can't touch him.
I mean, come on.
That's the correct answer.
Yes. Let's roll over to Marvel. They had movies come out too.
Did they?
And shows. We got a couple of shows too.
Drowning in such substandard Marvel content now that it's kind of sad.
Yeah, man, you are cold as ice on your YouTube channel.
Wow, dude.
Every time I think, except for like Miss Marvel and Falcon Winter Soldier, every time it's just like this sucks.
Hey,
I did not say it sucks. I'm just like this isn't this doesn't need to be here.
I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, and it was dog shit.
No.
I like Spider-Man.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
No, I'm kidding.
I liked WandaVision. In my defense, I really liked WandaVision. I really liked Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I did too. Okay.
Did not like Loki. The middle episodes.
Okay.
I didn't like the finale. I didn't like the finale.
You don't get art. It's fine though.
Moon Knight. Moon Knight was so-so.
Moon Knight was so-so.
Moon Knight was mixed for me.
Pretty fucking bad.
Which one?
Hawkeye.
Oh, Hawkeye?
Disagree.
Whoa,
Hard
Bro,
disagree.
seriously, bro?
Seriously?
Bro.
I thought it was
Seriously,
average.
bro.
No, Hawkeye
Seriously,
was
bro?
bad. Hawkeye
Hard
was bad.
disagree.
Dude, bro.
Marvel.
Seriously, bro.
Bro.
Because Marvel started out.
You hear this,
really-
bro?
Miss Marvel started out phenomenal, and then those directors
still
left
is.
and did not come back, and it's kind of going back into the Marvel rut.
No.
I like the fourth episode.
I haven't seen
But,
it, so I can't say anything.
I didn't love the third episode either.
I'm worried about it.
Okay, I'm not seeing the fourth one yet, but I love the first two. I kind of was like on the third one. I've not seen the fourth one yet.
The third episode was
It's like they spent all their money on their directors on the first episode, who give it so much style, and then the directors after that. I don't know if they feel like different directors because there's no style in the second, third, or the fourth like there was in the first.
disagree on the fourth. I think the fourth actually had plenty of style.
By style, are you talking about like the graphical stuff, like they have?
No, I'm talking about like camera movements. So you watch this first episode of Miss Marvel, and there's camera movements out the wazoo that you've never seen in a Marvel show, much less a movie other than Doctor Strange 2. And it was really impressive and really just got your attention, grabbed you by the shirt and was like, pay attention to this Muslim girl, white man. And it was like, all right, I'm paying attention. I'm here. She's awesome. I really like her. And then they dropped that style from the other episodes, and fourth kind of is getting back there. I wonder if because they're doing more action stuff, maybe it just falls into the generic action stuff that they had, but they really had something special with that first episode that I haven't seen come back yet. So I want more of that.
Well, I'd say the third episode was the weakest of the bunch, but at the same time, I'm digging what I'm getting. I think that
Yeah.
I
think this week's. I know you haven't seen this week's, but I mean, it's not a huge spoiler to say that. Yeah, this week, because remember, at the end of last week's, they said they were going back to Pakistan.
Yeah.
So this is the Pakistan episode, and I think the rest of the series will be set in Pakistan. And they changed the closing credits to go with that, which I thought was a very nice touch.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to keep this like spoiler light or whatever, but yeah, like while it was in Jersey City, it was Jersey City, and now it's going to be Karachi. For me, I think the biggest thing I'm getting out of the show, last week was beautiful with the wedding and everything, and one of the things I'm getting is like imagine people like my mom watching this and getting to see like Pakistani culture and Muslim culture. Like the wedding, I was telling her, I said, man, I love Muslim weddings. They're just so simple. It's like, do you want to marry this person? And then, when you want a divorce, you just say, oh, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. Congratulations, you're done. It's nice and simple. But yeah, like that's the one thing I like is like that it's exposing people to culture. But I also, I am big on the representation thing because of my friend Mo, who is Pakistani, and he was all like, yeah, I can't watch it until my mom gets home because I want my mom to watch it. And he was telling me that when the Illuminatis, are speaking in Urdu, he's like, oh, they were like using like bad words and stuff. And I'm just like, yes.
Well, the thing too is that I mean, not to give away what happens in this episode, but we've now actually gotten to some Ms. Marvel comics that I haven't read. Where with an introduction of a character in episode 4, which means I just have to go back and read the Ms. Marvel stuff that I didn't, because this is still G. Wilson's run that they're pulling from, just from later on in the era than I actually ever got to.
Okay, so since we are okay with talking up to episode 3 at this point, last week's deep cut, Ian.
Yeah. Oh my freaking God. Okay. The fact that we are going freaking Alan Davis on this shit with the origins of
the clandestine.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, like who I did not think that I would ever see them pull that deep, and
I'm
yet
confused.
they have.
Elaborate, please.
Clandestine is a series that Alan Davis worked on for many years over at Marvel, a bunch of different limited series that he did, and that's the group of characters that they are associating with the Marvel Cinematic Universe version, rather than going into Inhumans like in the comics. They're tying her lineage to Clandestine. So that's that. If you want to look further into it, it's on Marvel Unlimited. It's going to look very different because obviously it's a freaking superhero, story rather than like Pakistani mythology and shit like that. But
I remember this.
Yeah, this is where they're pulling from for the lineage of Ms. Marvel.
So that raises a couple of questions. So
yes.
I wonder what they're doing with the Inhumans since Captain Black Bolt is off exploring strange new worlds mostly.
Yeah.
Captain Black Bolt.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean,
This is what they're doing. Zilch.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, because so she's not an Inhuman, obviously, and you're also not getting. But he's a member of the Illuminati of Earth 868 or whatever.
Right.
one time, yes.
will.
Well, he was.
Yeah, which we'll get
Talking about
to.
Ms. Marvel.
You know. You shut your mouth, Raph. We will get there. Shut your mouth
Miss
about
Marvel,
Black Bolt.
so I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, there's a lot of kids or the actors on this show are superstars.
Yeah.
Aman Vellani.
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy
Absolutely, yes.
Her best friend Bruno. Is that his name?
We don't talk about Bruno though. No.
He's fantastic. The mom is fantastic.
Yeah.
The dad
is
fantastic.
amazing.
Yes.
The dad's the
Brother's
best character.
awesome.
Brother and the new sister-in-law from the wedding episode.
Yep.
She's they all have superstar actors on this
They do.
casting.
They really do.
They really did exceed the regular Marvel show in that, because Hawkeye did not have that quality. Aman Vellani is a superstar, and she's got the charm that's natural, whereas I felt like the girl, what's her name? The girl playing Kate, at least on Hawkeye,
Haley
was trying too
Steinfeld.
hard. I like Haley Steinfeld in Bumblebee, and I've liked her in other stuff, in Pitch Perfect and all that stuff. But when she was playing Kate Bishop Hawkeye, I was like, you're trying too hard. Like, this isn't coming natural to you. It felt fake.
But
felt
Kate
like
Bishop
acting.
also is a character that tries too hard. So
Exactly.
Well, this is
Kind
the era
a thing.
of the fan. This is the Marvel Phase 4 of the fans. Like a lot of characters are fans of the Avengers in universe,
Yeah.
which is weird, honestly.
But also natural. Like it actually
true.
makes sense.
yeah, we're starting to get some sort of like legacy charactering, which is inevitable.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, they're going Ironheart. Like Ironheart's going to be introduced pretty soon into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, yeah.
I mean, I wonder how Ironheart's going to go. I didn't watch Naomi, but based off Jamal's reaction to the Naomi show, that was the other newest character that's gotten a show like out of the blue. I'm like, Ironheart had 12-ish. I mean, not 12, but she was the focus of something like very, very short, and then they quickly shunted her off into her own book, which then failed. And I did like her stuff when she was appearing in Champions, but like Miss Marvel has a lineage and a real fan base, whereas like Ironheart doesn't. So I'm kind of curious to see how this Ironheart show goes.
Miss
I
Marvel
think
has
that's
a
a
dedicated
fair
team.
curiosity, because as you say, it's not like Ironheart has the popularity of a Kamala or Miles,
Right.
Precisely, which doesn't mean that she doesn't deserve her show. But I think it's curious to at least ponder how can you envision this working.
Well, it's like Naomi.
Yeah.
They had 6 issues out of a comic book, and they're like, we're going to craft 13 episodes out of this show, and so season 2. And I'm like, you don't even know what the fuck the story is. How they do
not
that?
because Brian Michael Bendis likes vanity projects, and they obliged him because the companies have done that because he has been successful.
Yeah.
Even if he isn't what he was, even in the Ultimate Spider-Man day. Let's be real. He wrote Ironheart and he wrote Naomi for the same exact reason, because he adopted, or is his daughter adopted, or he has his daughter's black.
Yeah.
And he's running a character for her, which is fine, which is great. But
Which is one of the worst things that you.
But also, yeah, because he doesn't. Yeah, I don't think he gets that perspective. You don't understand. You're a parent, but you're not from the same background. You don't have that perspective, right? Like
It's the disconnect that's right there. It's like, as a parent, like
disconnect.
The parent can sympathize with the child, but they don't really understand it. Right.
Whereas Miss Marvel, G. Willow Wilson, wrote it.
Toast to all you parents on this call that are giving parents.
Did you guys catch Sanaa Amanat in episode 3?
Yes, I did.
In the crowd.
Yeah, and Sana's been on this property since the very beginning. So there's a continuity, there's a history, and involves people who are of that background working on that. Right?
Is Sanaa Amanat? I'm going to mispronounce her last name. Sorry. I know she was the editor of the original book. Did she come up with the idea? Like, is she credited as one of the co-creators along with G. Willow Wilson and Adrian Alphona?
No. She was in on the ground floor on helping to build the character, but G. Willow Wilson is the creator along with Alphona.
I just wonder, like, if you're an editor and you're in those rooms, in those meetings of character creation, if it was done in a meeting room, I'm just saying.
Oh, that's a good question.
As like a third party, do you then get credit as creation?
From what I know about obviously creator credits are creator credits. Like, basically, like, that's kind of set in stone these days on
I don't know
she's
that
a Marvel
they are
employee.
in comics, though, because like if you're an employee, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like most of the creator credits we see now is like writer, artist, then our creator. If you're an editor and giving input on the creation of something,
then you
might not be credited.
Yeah, you're going to be you're going to be credited as editor.
If you're in the conversation, I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, I wasn't there.
No, I know.
In the conversation between like the editorial at Marvel and G. Willow Wilson, and you're like, hey, I have an idea, or hey, I think G. Willow would be perfect for this type of character we try and create, and then Miss Marvel comes in there, and then you get Adrian Alphona to design her, and then he gets a creator credit. Does that,
from what I
that initial kernel, where the fuck does it come from? And if it comes from an editor in a conversation, does she?
It all depends on.
It all depends. Third creator credit.
Exactly. It all depends on who created what. Basically,
says Wikipedia says Kamala Khan was created by Sanaa Amanat, G. Willow Wilson, Adrian Alphona, Jamie McKelvey, and Stephen Wacker.
Yeah.
Jesus, I've never heard.
Oh wow, they've included everyone.
Yeah. So
generally speaking, it's the writer that pitches, and then Marvel approves, and they assign the editor to it. That's always been. So.
Yeah, that's true for normal comic stuff. But Miss Marvel had a mission behind it from the beginning.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's why this is much more of a conversation than it normally would be.
Yeah, and that's also why Sana has kind of stuck. I mean, she's stuck with the character, long after G. Willow Wilson's gone elsewhere.
Well, you got to remember that G. Willow Wilson is a convert, and she is a white lady from Boston. So even if she understands the faith part of it, the actual, like, the culture, the background, the childhood part,
Sana would have the idea. Yeah. So I get that does make a lot more sense. That she gets the credit. But I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, Miles works because I don't know. I think Miles worked in spite of Bendis as opposed to like because of Bendis. Because
the readership was starving for that kind of character despite all the blowback. Sanaa Amanat is also from New Jersey, apparently.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so that it all starts to fit more perfectly. But I mean, like, that's why Miles works and like Ironheart and Naomi don't, because it's a weird, weird dynamic.
We also literally don't know anything about Ironheart yet. Like, Ironheart hasn't happened yet. So I think what I think they're trying to do over at the MCU in particular, as Chris said earlier, and as we've sort of hinted at, whether we get Young Avengers, whether we get Champions, whether we get whatever after this, like, they're laying the groundwork knowing damn well that their original stars are not going to be there. Whether or not these characters catch on from here and continue the franchise in these, youthful versions of these legacy characters or not, we'll certainly wait and see. But I think they're damn well aware that they have ingrained franchise potential one way or the other, and hopefully they're going to put the time and the effort to build Ironheart out past what she's had in the comics, as has happened other times as well when characters have gone from the comics to the screen. Like, there's changes made and there's adjustments and improvements in some ways over others.
You'll never see me coming.
Exactly.
The greatest.
Yeah, I'm not giving excuses. I'm just saying, like, I honestly just want to see what they bring to the table. You know.
Well, for me, I mean, like, and I think of the, since we're all comic book fans, I feel like the TV shows are like the monthly comics, and the movies are like the big events.
Yes, you're right.
And I think that's why, like, I don't mind. Like, look, I've read Superman every single month for almost like 25 years.
Up until 2019.
I don't love every issue of Superman, but I read them because I enjoy them in a very general sense. So, like, I mean, I don't dislike. I haven't watched Miss Marvel yet because of my eye issues, but like, I don't mind. I've enjoyed all the series so far. Maybe not like, Hawkeye was. I'm never gonna say Hawkeye was a classic, but like, Hawkeye was enjoyable. It was Hawkeye a fun little Christmas story. Yeah. It was a nice diversion for a couple weeks, but like, that's like any like Marvel miniseries nowadays. You pick it up, you go, oh, that was kind of cool, and you put it back. That's it. You had your fun.
Even what if Miles Morales was Thor?
Let's not talk about that.
I haven't read it yet, and the few panels I've seen, oh my god, that guy's. He needs to feel bad.
Yeah,
I hope he feels bad.
He does.
He is profusely sorry. It was an accident. He's profusely sorry.
And he needs to feel worse because the last time I saw something like this was when Christos Gage wrote Luke Cage in an Iron Man comic, and he made him stunt straight up like DMX.
I'm not black, even I was offended. That's no accident. Come on.
How is that an accident?
That is
the fucking worst take ever. We're gonna make Asgard urban New York, and therefore there's gonna be fucking graffiti everywhere because urban people and black people don't value their neighborhood. So we're just gonna put graffiti.
By Odin's fate, I will smite thee.
That's not what graffiti is.
Piece of crap. It was absolutely was, but his intention was I can tell you what his intention was. His intention was to sort of like use the story as a way to kind of show honor towards what his affinity for like 90s hip hop. It came off horrifically racist.
Oh yeah,
it is a racist comic book, but it's not like
it sounded like
racist.
A really, really white guy wrote that.
Yeah.
Who barely listens to hip hop.
Latino guy. That's what I thought. Is like
that's the thing.
Like
it's
a white guy wrote it.
You should have known better, my man.
Yeah, well,
whether or not you think that's what I was saying. Like that's what a white guy's perception of graffiti is.
But
someone who lives in that culture, like you see graffiti on a neighborhood, they're automatic, like around here in Orlando, they just paint over it or something, unless it's a big mural. But just random.
He teleports all eyes on me.
But one question though: where were the editors? Where were they on this book?
They're also really white.
That too, but that would have been so many red flags right across my desk. Like so many red flags.
You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? Because it was, and no excuse whatsoever. Because honest to God, it should have never freaking happened. I guarantee you, they were like, it's a what if? Who's gonna care? And that's I don't know if that was the actual reasoning behind it or whether or not there was actual like editorial failure on this, but I guarantee you that's the thoughts that went through their head. It's a what if, it's a what if. We can do whatever we want with the what if. Like there's even some things that you shouldn't do with the what if.
I mean, you could.
I'm not seeing a lot of it was good or right. A long time. Yeah. Whether it's this or like the Psychopath Turning Red review is like editors don't really exist anymore, do they? Like there's no sense of like checking people's work anymore.
No, I'm on 9 books. Fuck off.
Oh God. Going back to the MCU stuff though, real quick, is that I want to know how this all turns out with the premiering characters on Disney Plus first. Now that we're finally having that happen. Because up until now, it was all series based on existing characters, one way or the other. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'd seen Falcon, we'd seen Winter Soldier. Hawkeye. We got Haley Steinfeld's, Hawkeye, but also Hawkeye was in it. So clearly established. Loki, same thing. Now we've got Moon Knight. We got Ms. Marvel. We're getting Ironheart.
She-Hulk.
We're getting She-Hulk. These are all characters that are being introduced here, and I kind of like that they waited a bit until that happened. Kind of get us like used to the idea of Marvel TV shows, and then start introducing in the created for TV that will then wind up showing up in movies later on.
I wonder if that's just a a symptom or a consequence of the coronavirus pandemic. You know, TV could go on, and their TV plans, I felt like they happened a little bit later, but it was kind of right on schedule. Whereas the movies, you know, they pushed Black Widow like a year and a half before finally said, fuck it, just, you know, Scarlett's going to sue us anyway, get us out of here. And just kept going from there. Because these movies were supposed to come out like a year and a half ago, and they've all been shifted right so far that you're not seeing the lineups or whatever as maybe we could have had there been no terrible pandemic.
Well, I mean, Black Panther still would have been delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
We've seen
Marvel
so
had been
little
done
of
for
it.
like 2 years ago. Like that they were doing that show during 2020 when they were filming it, I believe.
But look, I mean, what? Remember, was it? I think the Marvel, the MCU press junket from during pandemic when they dropped the entire slate of all their shows here.
Yeah.
And those have now been pushed back 6, 9, 12 months also now.
Yep.
So, but I think like the reason, go back to your question, is like the TV shows are such a good way to gauge the temperature of a character.
Oh yeah.
And on the cheap, right? So why would they? If you can do six episodes of a TV series and get establish an audience and also get the tone of, okay, is this character going to work here? Can we retool some things here on the cheap? Why the hell would you not do it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I told you guys this before, but like I work at Daylight, Barnes and Noble, and like throughout all last year, I was short ordering Wanda and Vision comics, Sam Wilson Foul Cap stuff, Loki comics, and they sold very precipitously, like very, very glacially. And I ordered some Moon Knight stuff, and like Moon Knight just flies off my shelves. All in the Lemire stuff, like everything that we got, like constantly. And Miss Marvel's starting to sell okay, but like I think you have a point where like the new characters are sparking more of an interest right now than like in terms of like, you know, like actually going to the comics than the familiar characters throughout the first 3 phases.
Definitely.
At least from my perspective.
Yeah. No.
So like, do you? That sounds like normal comic book sales to me.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened when
like Miss Marvel has fans and is selling, but is she selling more than any random copy of Moon Knight? And I know we're talking trades here or whatever, but like,
I think Moon Knight was such an unknown quantity at first.
That just sounds like the same white people buying the same comics they've always bought, as opposed to like new readership coming in, which is what we really want and what it should be.
Yeah. What were you just saying, Chris?
I think a lot of it you're talking about established characters versus new characters. And the thing is that if people already know what they like, you either liked Loki or you didn't. And there's also the weight of the characters behind that. Like, how do I put this? Oh, which is with Loki, he's dead, right? And you're just like, oh, I guess they're using time travel to bring him back. It's like it's less interesting in a way because of all this history. Like, you know, if you didn't already like Hawkeye, and you're not really going to care about learning more about his family or about a new Hawkeye. It's just like you've already seen enough of him in the movies. Yeah. But with like Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel, it's kind of like there has been no mention of them whatsoever. I mean, there's no whispers, no hints, no nothing. So I think one, people are willing to take a chance on it. And two, like, you know, they're also just lesser known characters. So like with Hawkeye, you've probably, you know, you've ever read an Avengers comic, it might have had Hawkeye in it, but, you know, you read random Marvel comics, you may or may not have seen Ms. Marvel before. And you definitely have probably never seen Moon Knight in a comic. I mean, now that I think about it, I've been reading comics for over 30 years. And I could count the number of times I've seen Moon Knight in a comic on like one hand. Yeah. It's probably like 2, and it was during a crossover event.
The Marvel.
Dude, I only heard of Moon Knight when fucking David Finch decided to draw him.
No,
that's the first time I heard of him.
Avengers?
I first got into Moon Knight during the beginning of the Marvel Knights stuff, actually. Like that's like when they started doing the street level characters with, you know, Daredevil running around with Moon Knight and Punisher and like all that jazz. Like that's the first real time that I, even thought of Moon Knight outside of like maybe him like guest appearing in like a random issue of Spider-Man or whatever. Like he's just always been sort of those one characters on the fringe.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that like the most famous thing about Moon Knight for one people is the like Dracula owes me money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell that bitch you better give me my money. And of course, like Polygon had a great article about this. Like, first of all, that is a fake panel that has never happened.
I know.
And I don't know why someone
Oh, really?
what I loved about it was I don't know why someone felt the need to make that, because there are so many real panels that are just as weird,
Luke Cage,
if not weirder.
Luke Cage and Doctor Doom.
Doom, yes.
Yeah. Which I feel like that's what that panel is probably based on in some ways, is the Luke Cage Doctor Doom one.
I need Alex Ross to recreate that panel.
Oh my God! Yes, please. Yeah, like next Marvel's project needs to have that panel recreated. It's where's my money, honey?
A crazy black man was coming. I knew it had to be you. If I had a dime every time I heard that.
Oh God!
Oh my God! What did we think of Doctor Strange?
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rant.
Okay, all right, good. Brandon hasn't had a chance to rant yet. Everybody else has. Brandon, please.
Okay, so let me preface this by saying I appreciate the movie. Right? I understand what they tried to do, or what they did actually, not what they tried to do. What they actually succeeded in the movie. It was I don't say it was it was a reset, but it was kind of like a
realignment.
A realignment, readjustment of Doctor Strange and how he plays into the greater Marvel universe. But I feel, and this is definitely a me thing here. The trope that I dislike the least in fiction. Thank you, Pizza Papa.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But the trope I dislike in fiction the most is where it is the delegitimization of trauma and stress of a person, right?
Okay.
That is what I absolutely dislike the most in fiction, where it's you discount the pain and the suffering that the character's gone through just to have a shortcut for the road to them being a villain. That's what I dislike the most about this entire movie. And it almost invalidated all of WandaVision in some regard to me, where it's the point of like, okay, yeah, I get it. The Darkhold corrupted Wanda. Cool, right? It makes sense. Whatever the Darkhold touches, it turns evil. But
we never see that though. Right.
That's the thing. We never see it. We never, other than like, oh, Wanda's hands are getting a little ashy. Other than that, not really much. And then like it played light with the fact that she's gone through some shit, right? She actually has an actual reason to be upset. Yeah. And did she do it the right way? No. But like, it seems very flippant to the struggle that the character gone through, and that's really what pissed me off most about the movie. Like I don't get me wrong, there's a lot of the movie I liked a lot, but that was like something in me that I'm like doesn't sit right.
So it's like
you and Adam Murdo simpatico as usual.
So it's like you didn't like that there was callbacks to the movie, and also at the same time that there were not enough callbacks, or it wasn't like I'm kind of with you there, because I was trying to get my wife to watch Doctor Strange 2 a couple nights ago, and she was like, "Do I need to watch WandaVision?" And I was like, "Yeah, you kind of do, but you kind of don't." But at the same time, like, I don't know what to
really do.
By watching WandaVision.
You really do. Yeah.
You can't skate by that and like, oh, kids, I understand. Like, you gotta have to watch that.
But I watched Doctor Strange, and what I felt was lacking was a really like even a hint of what the fuck happened in WandaVision. I know that's not Marvel's thing, but like I was kind of wondering if like, are they going to hint to it at all? Like, this didn't feel like a sequel. This felt like the worst parts of comics when they're calling back to something else that's going on at the same time.
And you didn't read the issue that it tied into it?
Read it. So I just reread Nightwing by Peter J. Tomasi, that trade paperback that came out. And I remember loving this run back when it came out. And then I just reread it, and it called back to Batman R.I.P., Final Crisis, R&R. And if you haven't read that stuff in 10 years, you're like, what the hell is... There's a mention... The first storyline features the mother of all nations from the Great 10. You remember those fucking people?
Yes! They're the Chinese Justice League. What the fuck, man?
She's giving birth to all these babies, but it's just... You just assume that you know what's going on, but without any
I do.
explanation. I know. But there's no explanation or even like hint of, hey, here's this woman. Here's where she's from. Here's what her powers are. It's just like, here's a woman giving babies. Why? I don't know. And it's like it's too much left up to you to go follow up on it. Or
they assume that you read the books.
They assume too much. And then at the same time, I think the story suffers because they do that a lot. Right. And that's kind of... I like the movie, but I felt like Doctor Strange had a lot of that going on for it.
That was the biggest risk they took, I think.
I wasn't upset that there were callbacks. I'm upset that the callbacks that they did make in the movie really didn't fucking matter in the long run.
Yes,
I watched one review. Like, I watched Grace Randolph a lot, whether you like her or not. She made a good point. Like, she really felt like the writer of this movie didn't watch WandaVision because there was so much like nuance and emotionalness to WandaVision that wasn't in this film at all.
Brent, you know, she jumped on a plane after she was done filming WandaVision, right? Like she literally went from finishing filming WandaVision, hopped on a plane.
I'm not talking about the actress. I'm talking about the writer.
But I'm telling you, there was no time for them to have been able to have watched WandaVision because WandaVision was not done. Scripts
are two different producers.
Yeah, but the scripts are happening simultaneously, basically.
Oh yeah, they literally didn't finish the script until she was there.
Exactly. So like I'm sure that they had basic.
So why are we rushing this movie out right after WandaVision though?
Because
this movie could have waited. This movie could have been after. I know, but I'm saying
it's supposed to be last year, so.
So it's even worse.
I'm saying in the timeline, if you're lining up your production schedule and you're like, this movie comes out not right after WandaVision, could have, should have perhaps, but a year, it was pretty much a year, right? But at the same time, in our production schedule, we haven't had time to look at the story or look at the finished product of WandaVision. We're going to rush from WandaVision production season 8, episode 8 into production of this movie. And the writers have not talked, the directors have not talked, they've not ingested any of it. There's no like intake of it. And therefore the product you have between the two of them, while there is connective tissue, doesn't have that same emotional resonance that ultimately the superior product, WandaVision, brought to that character because you rushed into it. Whereas if they had waited and put this movie out, I don't know, in where Thor Ragnarok falls or even where Black Panther 2 is going to fall in the fall this year, you might have had that time to at least ingest some of that. Like, how's it shaping up? Oh, well, it's really emotional. Oh, well, maybe we need to add more dialogue about the Vision in here, or even mention that he fucking exists still, or what the hell happened to him. Like that whole.
She also doesn't even know that he still exists. So that's not.
It was just like Wanda wants kids. Why? Okay, go watch WandaVision, and you watch WandaVision, you're like, okay, I don't understand. I know where she's coming from, but I don't. It was like this.
I mean, let's
like they're heading toward each other, but they missed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a symptom of the era, the pandemic era, and you can say, well, they could have waited longer. But if you want me to be really, I don't know the word for this, practical about it, is the fact that they've already delayed it, and they have paychecks, they have people to pay. People like they need their money. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just say, "Oh, we'll just wait another year," because
I wasn't saying that. I was saying like in the production order, you had Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi. All some of them were great, some were not. In terms of like production order, you could have said, "Well, we need to space this out a little bit more." Just just we internally can get our shit together.
But again, I'm saying saying that the way they do their books, and I'm not saying this is the best way. It's just that they already are expected to have movies at certain times that bring in money at certain times, and then you pay out, your workers at certain times. You pay out your shareholders because oh god, the shareholders can't go without their money. And the fact that everything was already delayed, like I think of this as very similar to the writer's strike in 2007, 2008. And the fact is, like, you go back and you look at the art made and, you realize these people were just doing the best they could. I mean, honestly, a lot like shows got cut off and, they rushed their endings just like they did with the pandemic. And they could have waited. They could have been like, oh, we'll just pick this up. But again, because they have schedules they have to meet, they have, expectations that have to be, again, I'm going to keep saying shareholders. Like, you're if they tell you need to do 20 episodes and there's a strike and you only have 15, you're like, well, if I could do 18, that'll make them slightly happier, but you still have to make a lot of compromises. I hope I'm making sense, because now I'm starting to really doubt myself.
No, you're totally making sense, because Heroes season 1 was the best season of television that we'd seen in a long time. And then the writer's strike happened and season 2 still had to come out. And that was the worst season of television we'd seen.
And plus, Next Generation season 2.
Let me also, hold on, Brandon. One more addition to what Chris is saying is that there's a world out there where Doctor Strange came before Spider-Man, because originally that's where it was in the slate.
So the way they fit those two together is so clunky. Like, they had to throw in this mention. We have some experience with the multiverse. Like they threw that in, but then
that was a reshot scene.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it had to be, but it also feels weird because then I'm trying to imagine how No Way Home would have played had it come afterwards.
America would have been the role of MJ, and or she might have even been with them, like Ned and MJ. It might have been Ned, MJ, and America, basically, because America was supposed to be in that movie originally.
Yeah,
so.
I
did not know that.
That's weird.
Yeah, in a characterization way, I've talked with Ian about this before.
Yeah.
I do find that No Way Home works better taking place before Doctor Strange, because even if Stephen doesn't remember, I feel like he might have been influenced by Peter, because let's be honest, like, most of the movie is Stephen's fault. Yes. It is not Peter's fault.
Yes.
He's a freaking kid. He doesn't understand magic. He's got all these concerns in his head, and Stephen treats him like he's an idiot for half the movie. And then eventually he kind of like, when he says, oh, I have to remember you're still just a kid. And I'm like, thank you. I've been screaming that for the past 90 minutes, you moron.
Yeah, a kid's going to panic. That's what he does.
And I feel like the way he treats America is a lot kinder. He shows her a lot more grace, which is part of the movie. Is at the end, he's like, I'm not like that other Doctor Strange. I'm not going to hurt you. And I can feel like in a characterization way, it fits better coming after No Way Home. Like, he learned his lesson, even if he doesn't remember it. He just learns to have a little more patience with teenagers.
Yeah.
No, he should remember. It's just that he doesn't remember that it's Peter Parker under the mask.
Well, he
does remember.
He remembers something happened, because he's not going to remember why it happened, because that would involve remembering Peter.
Right.
I will point out, and I love.
He tried to help Spider-Man and screwed up. Yeah.
Yeah, I do love that. In going back to No Way Home, I'm like he sheds a little tear. When he's like when he says, "We won't remember you. I won't remember you," and I'm like, "Oh, are you gonna miss the little dork?"
All of us who love.
Yeah.
Well, no, we won't remember you.
We love you.
It basically cements Doctor Strange as a damn good uncle. Like, by the time Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness is done, it's like, okay, this is not a second movie in a row where Doctor Strange has essentially been surrogate uncle. Like,
wait.
Oh no.
Wait.
What?
Shang-Chi is Jackie Chan, and Doctor Strange is uncle.
So
the Marvel Universe is the Jackie Chan Adventures.
So Brandon, you had things that you wanted to add. Please go right ahead. Raph never said anything. Just continue on as if he's not on the call.
I'm going to leave this spell. None of you are going to remember my words. You won't remember me.
Talisman not important, okay? Talisman not important. Brandon,
you had to say uncle.
Brandon,
you had to say uncle.
Brandon, you had one more thing. Go ahead.
Well, Guai Fighty Chow, so to say. But like, going back to what Chris and Brent were talking about before, like, it's, like, there was a slate here. That's kind of what fucked everything over in the first part, is that, when you have a slate, you pay for these dates in these theaters. You are going to say, hey, by this date here, I'm going to have X amount of money out to these dates here. And like, I wish sometimes, like, the problem with modern movie making is that we always have to have, a slate. You look at like DC now, or you look at like Marvel before. Like, they announce their entire phases, and then everything gets shuffled around, and everything gets kerfluffled, and now we're like, oh, look around. Something happens like the pandemic here, and now we have all our thumbs up our asses right now, right? And like, I just wish that, that they were able to just tell a story one at a time, like they could originally with the original Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of like, okay, here, look, we have a plan here for some movies here, but we're not going to tell you all of them. I just wish that, we can kind of go back to that sometimes.
Yeah. We were supposed to have a dark universe fully populated by now. We were supposed to have a core movie 3 years ago.
The Monsterverse should be healthier than it is.
We were supposed to have a Green Lantern core TV show by now.
Mm-hmm. We were supposed to have a Ben Affleck Batman movie before it was going to be the Batman.
Joe Manganiello was supposed to have a career by now.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Can I get into the multiverse?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they should change the title of this movie not to Multiverse of Madness, but to Alternate Verse of Madness.
No. One pit stop of madness. One pit stop of madness.
Hey. We traveled through a bunch to get to one, and then we stayed there, and that does not make a multiverse.
Donovan.
I was looking forward to this because there are a lot of things I really like in this movie. Ultimately, I enjoyed this movie. I think Sam Raimi showed up on set with a boner.
Yeah.
He directs the hell out of this movie. It's awesome. I think with Olsen does a rocking job as a scary villain. I think it's honestly a half measure. The whole strange character development, the whole are you happy thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much we can possibly get from that.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it because he has been really cold in the MCU so far. Mm-hmm. I like America Chavez. The cameos generally were awesome. They blew my mind. But I can't let go of I don't see how Kevin Feige and the screenwriters go from, okay, you're watching WandaVision and you're with Wanda the whole time, and there's just going to be a villain, baby crazy, and then the audience is just going to accept that. You don't watch WandaVision and watch that last episode and think she's going to be evil. She ends up because she doesn't kill Agatha Harkness. She ends up always doing the right thing. And
what's the last thing you see of her?
Yeah.
What's the last scene you see with her?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get again, it's the whole thing of yes, we know the Darkhold subtly corrupts people over time, right? But
they told us that. I don't think I knew that.
They said
it feels like that. It just
took a couple shortcuts.
Yeah, a lot of shortcuts, and
that's the big thing.
It wasn't earned all the way.
Yeah.
Well,
so straight up, I think it's actually disingenuous to the character. I know a lot of people are out there oh, if you look at Age of Ultron, she was always heading down this way. We know in the comics this happens, but I think in terms of this character they set up, it felt like a betrayal to the character, and I was so shocked that the film itself was so completely unsympathetic towards Wanda, to where they bury her at the end. And I was very interested to hear what you guys had to think about that. And because to me,
I agree.
It could not help but feel strangely retrograde misogynist. It just couldn't, despite the fact that I like a lot of parts about the movie.
I think what, first of all, one of the biggest problems with it is the fact that the MCU has a dearth of female characters right now, because Black Widow is dead. Yes, she has her sister. We're gonna get Yelena doing Yelena shit, but aside from that, we have Captain Marvel, and then she was our other big Avenger character, and now she was the villain in this movie, and now she's supposedly dead. And it just felt like even if they didn't intend it to be misogynistic, the optics of it are terrible. And you're right, it does seem to fall into the trope of baby craziness. I actually would have accepted a movie where it was a little more gradual, maybe Steven goes to her for help, and then she realizes that this is a way to get the kids back, as opposed to being the villain off screen before it even starts.
Yeah.
I think that's because, like I said, the optics of it are probably the worst of it. I'm sure they weren't trying to be assholes about it, and they wanted WandaVision to kind of lead into it, and they wanted to do this whole thing about, how much it hurts. It does suck that it also feels like Vision barely exists in her mind at this point. All she cares about are these two stupid little kids with their stupid ice cream song. My mom was like, "Oh, that's so cute," and I'm like, "No, this song is fucking terrible, and I wish these kids would die."
Whoa!
They're not real. They're not real. You know?
Tommy, Billy, I hate you.
Oh my god.
Also, can I point out that they were watching Snow White, which I thought was the weirdest thing. I was like, "Hey, Disney product placement,
Disney
don't
Plus."
you?
Well,
Disney Plus.
Also, I
and Steamboat Willie for some reason they're just like.
It was the one thing that was a little bit unbelievable to me is that, and I mean, I get why they got the same actors because literally, you know, WandaVision had just wrapped, so obviously they're gonna get the same actors playing the kids. But like, it's established in the show that they hyperage and that they get to that age. So you're telling me that this is the one part that was unbelievable for me out of all the shit is that you're telling me that all across the multiverse, Wanda's kids hyperage. And you're also
not in that universe.
Maybe she didn't want the surly teenage ones that she saw in like 1,000 other universes. She's like, no, I want the cute ones that sing stupid songs about ice cream. I can't even sing in sync.
I know.
7 to 8 is a great age. I'm in it right now with Olivia.
Well, yeah.
She sings to you. She has fun stories still. She listens to you. You can ask her to clean up. You can ask her to brush your teeth. She'll do it. Sometimes you have to remind her, but she's still cute. Like,
I have fun stories, Brent.
It's a good age.
I have fun. I will clean up. I have fun stories, Brent.
But also,
very different experiences.
Every
world. But you don't like lean into my face and yell at me.
Every world across the multiverse. Wanda created these kids, or she's got an off-camera husband that we don't know.
Maybe that universe Vision was a real person and never a synthesis.
Vishawn, that's
Sean. His name is
Vishawn.
I mean, okay.
Dido got that one.
For what is drip if not floss?
I think I know what this episode is going to be titled anyway.
I've been welling a lot, so let me get a couple of these things out. One, I don't think Wanda's dead at all.
Yes,
what the fuck was that red flash?
She's not dead. Of course she's not dead.
Two, the original story about Wanda's kids pretty misogynistic, so referring to it was and not making it misogynistic was already an uphill battle.
Yes, that's true.
True, very true.
Three, using Michelle Yeoh's multiverse rules, maybe the ones where those kids are that age and Vision is not around, or the ones that are most proximal to that reality. It's a great movie. Okay.
No,
real quick.
Don't tell me.
No review. No. I'm not saying anything.
I don't want to hear shit. No. I heard that you're supposed to go into that movie knowing nothing, so I haven't seen the trailer. I haven't seen the review. I'm waiting for it to be able to be rented. I'm not fucking buying a movie.
I'm waiting
for it to be rented.
I'm buying it. It's the best multiverse movie I've seen in a long time. That's all I'm saying.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I don't want to even see it. Ian,
okay,
fine.
I love this movie.
Sorry, I wanted to jump in and just say really quickly. I hate the part where it's like, oh, all those dreams you have, those are actually multiversal versions of yourself. And Wong is like, oh, the one where I'm naked and the cloud is chasing me. And I'm like, that's the worst one you have because I have had sex with so many people in my dreams, and I don't want to realize that. Oh God, there's a version of me that did that because that is messed up.
I fought the Sentry once.
I would suggest to Raph's point about because obviously yes, the original story was sexist, but Wong was originally an Asian stereotype. I mean, and they know better than to do that. So I would imagine that they would be a little bit more thoughtful in adapting this.
Because I mean, look, I love the MCU.
Sorcerer Supreme now, come on.
But some of the early MCU stuff it does have its issues with the fact that Black Widow's the only woman for ages. You couldn't just insert another Marvel superheroine earlier.
Yeah, they did with Wanda in the second one. In Avengers 2, Wanda shows up.
But but what about in the other Captain America? I mean, you had 12 movies before Ultron.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not till after Age of Ultron.
Well, that's not. I don't want to get too loud, but that's not particularly addressing my point exactly, because my point is that the MCU, yes, it's had a women problem. But this is a particularly visible one that I would imagine they would have had the foresight to sort of at least navigate in much easier waters than because again, off screen. Oh, we all know the Darkhold makes you crazy. I didn't fucking know that.
I knew that because they basically said as much in WandaVision.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Barely.
But again, she is that show. At least to me, the implication was that she could become more powerful, or what have you. But to have her to show up, being a villain in progress, this was advertised as a Strange Wanda team up, and that was done for a swerve. But except for myself and Brandon and Chris, do the three of you not feel that was just a little bit yikesy in terms of like the gender politics?
It definitely was. My thing is, I wonder was it always the plan to have Doctor Strange follow up WandaVision like that?
Well,
was that always the plan?
He was originally supposed to show up at the end of WandaVision in the finale.
Well, also,
I'm a white guy. What do I know? And in 2022, I can't say.
Well, Raph, I mean, you know what the original.
I love that caveat I have now. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what the original plan for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness was.
I don't know.
Well, before the original director left, Wanda wasn't even going to be a villain. It was going to be oh God, what's the name of the Doctor Strange villain that they were going to go with instead? Nightmare. Thank you.
So here's my thing.
Nightmare.
I wonder, going back to the point before, like, what if they had stuck with that and then Wanda does get corrupted? Right? Like, that actually makes I'm totally agreeing, because I think Scarlet Witch got short shrifted. Like, I think if you did the Nightmare story, if Nightmare was the enemy and Nightmare tempts Scarlet Witch with the power, and then somehow, I don't know how you resolve that particular problem at Phase 1 and 2, but that might have been that probably was the better story than what we got.
That's possible. I mean,
that's the thing.
In the end, though, I did actually wind up enjoying this movie a lot, and frankly, I actually dug most of the Scarlet Witch stuff that was going on. I think
that has to do with Sam Raimi, them letting Sam Raimi be the Sam Raimi since Drag Me to Hell.
Oh yeah,
hell
yeah.
Drag Me to Hell in the Marvel
such a Sam Raimi
movie. Definitely, yeah.
Oh God, that piano battle.
Oh, so good.
Also,
that piano battle. If you had shown me that piano battle during reading fucking Final Crisis Superman Beyond and Final Crisis issue 7, I might have understood it 15 years ago.
My favorite moment of this whole thing was
Superman blew the ultimate brown note and destroyed what's his face. That's what it was. It's simple. What do you not understand about the fundamental forces of good in the multiverse represented by Superman? Come on, it's not that hard to understand.
So bad, fucking.
Okay, Raph Morrison
brought it back.
Listen, Morrison and I are on the same wavelength. Okay,
I love when Cumberbatch is like, I never said they have to be alive, because this blows the first movie out of the water. Like, Doctor Strange was always supposed to be a lot more gothic and supernatural, and when Raimi lets his freak flag fly in the third act, it's so much fun. Oh yeah, and I love how B movie it is, when like the zombies are like flying over Elizabeth Olsen. She's like,
zombie Doctor
Strange. To no end that you had the zombie thing and they buried him, and he's like, at the very end, he was like, I never like that line. I never said they had to be alive, and I got so much delight because I knew that it wasn't going to be like he was going to inhabit that guy versus like them just bringing that thing back to life or whatever. I was like, oh, that's how they do it. That's so fucking cool, as opposed to like, here's another zombie, go fight a zombie.
Okay, this is also one of the only horror movies actually to get me the fucking jump scare. But mind you, that jump scare in the tunnel where she just fucking pops out of nowhere, I'm like, oh, that was actually horrifying.
Yeah,
actually, she got me when Captain Picard died.
Oh yeah. What do you think about the Illuminati?
So the Illuminati was a letdown for me.
I disagree entirely, and you're entirely wrong. I think that the Illuminati was excellent in this, as the Easter eggs that they're supposed to be. Because
I like them. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like the way that they got taken out so quickly was a letdown.
I think that was part of the point.
Exactly.
It was about upending your expectations, because as a nerd, you know that these are some of the most powerful characters, and
these guys are going to totally beat Wanda. They are so powerful, you guys.
Yeah. The lesson there was that they were so arrogant they weren't even working together, which mind you goes with the comics, because in the comics they're just a think tank. They're not like a real superhero team. They're just a bunch of a-holes who come together once in a while to talk important things.
What she did to Captain Black Bolt was the most grisly thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god!
No! I have
Black Bolt costume was all CG apparently.
Yeah,
I know,
which blew my mind.
That was amazing.
Very impressive.
Why isn't that CG on fucking Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man looks plastic CG as hell, but yet Black Bolt looked like
So
they
good.
really put a
Yeah.
suit on him. What's up with that?
But,
Also,
I don't understand.
but,
that's the X-Men
You
universe.
don't understand that Black Bolt, that Spider-Man looks
No.
like shit.
No. I don't understand the point of just not fabricating a costume.
It might
Because
be
even
timing.
in No Way Home, Tom Holland's wearing his Far From Home costume, but they digitally add the Golden Spider. It's like I don't get why this is happening.
Right. My problem with the CG Spider-Man half the time is that he's wearing the costume doing the acting. This poor kid's wearing spandex for no fucking reason. And they like CGI out all the wrinkles. See how my shirt's all wrinkled and stuff? They're like, nope, no wrinkles. It's got to look like this the entire time.
The eyes too. I've seen that.
Arm, you can't have the ruffles. Like it's all perfectly smooth and everything. Like I'm fine with the eyes. The eyes make sense to me. But like,
Well, I mean, it's a nano suit, so it wraps around them.
Unreal and that doesn't obey laws of physics of a piece of cloth or a covering. It's just
They did the same thing with the Sam Wilson's
Spider-Man
Captain America
bonkers my
costume.
mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's also like that's kind of the reason why it doesn't look as I guess realistic because it is such a smooth texture compared to like the Mark Webb suit or the Sam Raimi suit where actually you have the race texture and that does kind of draw your eyes to it being CG.
Well, it was such a contrast from like especially No Way Home. You have that shot in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Say nothing about the movie. That one shot of him at the very beginning skydiving down the building. You're seeing the wind ruffle through the suit and it's shaking. And you can see it pass over it. Versus this Spider-Man who's like, nope, no drag, no wind, whatever. Like doesn't exist. It's just
Because that's still the best Spider-Man costume. Don't at me.
Yeah.
I agree, honestly.
Yeah.
But
And-
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, with the Illuminati, I now have my favorite joke of all time. Knees weak, arms heavy. John Krasinski got turned into spaghetti. That is now my favorite joke of all time.
And I'm beyond glad that we got it out of the way.
Yes.
The Illuminati as it was in this movie was fan service. It was good fan service. Don't get me wrong, because they were smart about it. They're like, all right,
It wasn't the real Illuminati.
exactly. Like, let's give.
That
you,
was it. That was when I was like,
that was amazing. That was amazing. Patrick, you get Patrick
With the Kirby mind waves.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You get Patrick Stewart
been better
as
had
Professor
they not put
Xavier. You get Professor Xavier in the X-Men animated series chair, wearing the suit
And
and everything.
the green suit.
The green suit. You get Captain Carter in real life.
I didn't
Yeah,
really
comic
love the
accurate.
Captain Carter thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because as someone who's read the Illuminati comics, you remember how like Steve found out about the Illuminati and was pissed.
That's a good point. But
and
she's
they were like,
British.
all right, you can come in, Steve.
But she
Or-
has
Yeah,
she has British sensibilities, so perhaps that changed things.
It's more like I feel like
patriotic
they
of
put her in there for the same reason they put Maria Rambeau Captain Carter in there is because they're like, this can't be a sausage party.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's fan service. Everything about that just drip fan service. And like, there are some people that are like, who decide that they hate this movie. That's the worst scene because it's fan service. And like, I thought it was glorious. I would have liked it to be taken a little bit more seriously, but like, it was fun. And like, for my money, because I saw this movie twice, I thought Krasinski did a pretty good job as Reed Richards.
He did.
I wasn't positive at first. Does he sound smart enough? When he mentions his kids, I was like, yeah, but that sounds like Reed to me, even though he's a fucking
I've seen
idiot.
people complain. I've seen people complain that Krasinski is too warm to be Reed, but it's like weird because I've seen it 3 times, and I'm kind of like, yeah, but he also seems kind of spaced out whenever he's talking, which is totally Reed.
Oh, absolutely. And
like, he cares about things, but it's really detached.
yeah,
when he tells
Like,
Strange, he's like the biggest
practices talking to
danger.
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the point of this Illuminati was to get it out of the way. Like, okay, fan casting, John Krasinski. Okay, great, Fantastic Four, great, terrific. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get John Krasinski in the Fantastic Four movie that winds up happening because we don't have to now because it happened.
If that's how they get around not using anybody from the Foxmen films in the X-Men, I'm fine with that. If they're hey, we brought in Patrick Stewart, and honestly, I was afraid up until 2 days ago when they said John Krasinski may not be Fantastic. Was it Mr. Fantastic in the new movie? I had at once I was like, oh well, that's kind of a bummer, and at the same time I was like, oh, it's a sigh of relief because I realized that Patrick Stewart's not gonna have to be
He doesn't have to play Professor X when he's 90. You know, like
He's
I was going
way
to say
too
he's
old.
really old
Yeah.
at this
He's
point.
visibly older.
And for that matter, we just established 3 different Spider-Men that look entirely different.
Right.
So
and
like,
are different ages.
exactly.
And honestly, I thought McAvoy is a solid Xavier as well.
McAvoy is great as
yeah.
that character. I don't know why people don't like him.
No, I think he
He
did a
does
really
this
good
too
job.
much.
I mean, and I mean, Fassbender's Magneto is fantastic, and I think that
I did not hate Dark Phoenix. I'm not going to defend it, but I enjoyed it.
It was not as bad as
It wasn't
X-Men 3.
Catwoman.
That movie
Go
is
away.
that movie's untenable.
Drop him.
Let's be
Leave the
honest.
meeting.
no, Dark Phoenix.
No.
Dark Phoenix is ostensibly a terrible film.
Dark Phoenix
No.
is a goddamn travesty, but that's
It's
beside the point.
bad.
Travesty.
Yeah, it is.
I
it is.
love to say I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix.
Let me just put it this.
I feel like I won some competition.
No, you
did.
you won the competition of not
Yeah.
actually having your eyes hurt afterwards. But no, Donovan, if you do a movie twice and you fuck up twice,
Don't do it.
don't do it.
And you
Well, I
choose to
said-
write and direct it the second time. You do it.
Exactly.
All I said was I enjoyed it. I wasn't saying it was great.
I had
I
its
wasn't
moments.
saying
I understand
I was
that.
saying I'll defend it.
Okay, tell me who Jessica Chastain was and why she was there.
You're still, what am I, a lawyer?
Okay.
my dad and my
Your
brother
Honor.
are the lawyers. I'm the comic book
I know.
bohemian.
Shut up.
I never says I'm defended.
There's like
He actually
there's like
plays
3
the alien
Yeah.
from the planet that Phoenix blows up in the Dark Phoenix saga in the comics.
It was nice to see an X movie that was actually an X-Men film and not a solo adventure featuring one character. That's why I enjoyed about it.
You know they
Bring
were
friends.
they were originally going to introduce Skrulls into that until Marvel was like, no, you're not.
Fuck no. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think I heard
no, thank
about that. Yeah,
Yeah. So that was interesting.
decent. Mr. Fantastic costume, by the way.
Oh yeah. No,
I like it.
Nothing
It
wrong
looks
with it.
like it's the Boss Logic costume. That's pretty much
I was
what it
going to
is.
say, I
Yeah.
think Boss Logic does work for Marvel from time to time, just doesn't tell you.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it? It's also reminiscent to. I mean, at least with the 4 and whatnot, to Brian Hitch's design a little bit.
Mhm.
A little bit, yeah.
When he was on
Mhm.
the.
I gotta say, when they name checked the Baxter Foundation with Christine earlier,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, oh, is it gonna be Reed Richards? I thought they might bring back Yoan Gruffudd. So when it was Krasinski, I was doubly shocked.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
That
He's
would've
I
been-
gotta say, Rise of the Silver Surfer is still a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah, except for Galactus Cloud. Everything
Except
but
for
Galactus
Galactus,
Cloud.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Go
got
check
Doug
it out. It's
Jones-
actually not that terrible.
you got
Yeah.
Doug
The
Jones
whole
doing
beginning of that
Silver
movie is
Surfer
great.
with Lawrence Fishburne,
Yeah. Mhm.
and you still got Chris Evans in it. Come on, this
Yeah.
redeeming
Chris Evans
quality
as
for my
Super
wife.
Skrull.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong
Oh, yeah.
with the Tim Story Fantastic Four at all. Like it is still.
I wouldn't say
like-
there's nothing wrong,
There's-
but
There's
There are a
things
couple
wrong
of
with the
things.
The
But not
extended version of the first film is one that should have been released. That's
Doctor Doom
better than the original
still
cut.
ain't great no matter which way you slice it, and we need a good
Thing
Doctor
and
Doom.
Human Torch are perfect.
Yes.
The
Mhm.
tone is better than not good.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer was pretty good,
Yeah.
but obviously there's huge rooms for improvement that hopefully the next films will take and understand
Yeah.
and ignore
But-
completely the Josh Trank stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but there's something comforting about the fact that it's a family film. It's a family first movie. I'm like,
Oh,
all right,
sure.
cool. That's what I want from my
Yeah.
from my Fantastic
Yeah,
Four.
for what it was solid.
I just
It wasn't great, but it
wanted
was solid.
I just wanted Doctor Nip Tuck Doom to be better. That's all. Like
some of
Yeah,
my best
they
pictures.
don't do him any
of
justice.
People on this call are wearing that Silver Surfer T-shirt at MegaCon 2008.
that is very true.
True.
Very
You are
true.
absolutely right about that. Yes.
Yeah, that reminds me of.
Well, this is also this goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show. Is that like we can't just kind of like just write off everything that had in the past.
No, and you
like
can't.
Krasinski is not like
And it's
you know,
not
a
what I was
bazillion
doing,
times.
Donovan.
right. I'm just saying, the Tim Story movies
Yeah.
had their pluses and minuses. They're not the worst, they're not the best.
Definitely. Oh yeah, no. I mean, hell, I have redeeming qualities about freaking Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Like, there's scenes in that I like, even though most
You
of the movie
stopped
is trash.
after when you said I have redeeming qualities. You
Yeah,
should've
it's
stopped right
Jennifer
there.
Garner in tight pants. That's the
Is that-
No,
Honestly,
Affleck,
that
the director's cut's fine.
Yeah, it's actually a movie in a director's cut.
Yeah, I know.
Listen,
Tell me how that guy also directed Ghost Rider.
And
They're-
Electra.
It Ghost Rider sucks. Here's the thing: Catwoman sucks. Like that single Halle Berry movie,
Yes.
I can't say anything good about it.
Yes.
But most movies are not that.
yes.
I can say one good thing. That Halle Berry showed up to collect her Razzie.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
good for her.
When it was too late.
What wasn't it like? Was it the same year she won her Oscar? Or?
Yes, it was the same year.
That's what I thought. Yeah, so
she showed up to accept the Razzie, Oscar in hand.
Good,
I believe.
Good for her.
So if she didn't win the Oscar, you think she gets the Razzie though?
I think so.
yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
I think the Oscar helps in getting the Razzie though. I think that's a huge. It's like, hey, I'll take the Razzie. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's my Oscar. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just dropped my big Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's nice to have that though as a backup. You know, like, sure, I got a Razzie, but I'm also recognized as the best actress in this movie. You know, for this year. So,
well, I'm super glad that we're in the Wong cinematic universe. That we're.
I know, right?
All Wong all the time, baby. Like, he should be in everything. He's amazing.
the glue. Wong and Shang-Chi are going to be the glue. I keep saying this. No one listens to me. Wong and Shang-Chi are the glue of the next phase.
Yeah.
All right.
What if Wong shows up in Shang-Chi 2 as a villain? Oh, the Darkhold got him. And, like, we got to kill him. And that's our story.
Then Shang-Chi uses the 10 rings to rip a hole in reality with America Chavez's help. And that's a good Wong. Keeps that Wong, gets rid of the other Wong, and I'm still good with it.
No, because only a good Wong can make her white. Okay, that's
listen.
That's
all right, fine.
Do you think if they had a multiverse Wong, they would show up and be like, "Hey, Wong, how's it?" Oh, never mind, wrong Wong.
Listen, the only reason I'll let this go is if I play the new Wong.
Wrong,
then we're all good.
Wong.
I will be the wrong Wong.
Can we talk about Charlize Theron for a minute? And
as Clea?
Oh my god, perfect.
Yeah, she was great on The Boys.
Yes.
Yeah, the boy, she was great. As Clea, I don't want her. No thanks.
I want her.
I've seen Fast and the Furious. I love those movies. I don't like her in those movies.
Do you love those movies though?
She's great.
Really?
Is she not realistic enough for you?
5 and 6.
She's great in Atomic Blonde.
I don't give a shit about Clea, honestly, but it was just felt like fan casting.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'll be
something real.
Whatever.
I mean, they got to make the Strange movies and not just like Strange in the Marvel universe. I mean, the single year movies have to be about the characters and not the connectivity. So I think I was actually wondering, like, with this felt like Doctor Strange in the MCU.
Yes.
So when she showed up, okay, it's still a Doctor Strange story.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that she is of Cumberbatch's age, though.
Yes, that is true,
Right.
And also
Age appropriate,
another
not
strong
23.
female character. So there we go. Okay.
Also, one of the things that actually surprised me in a movie too, like I did not expect to see Clea in this movie.
Neither did I. No, I
Like
No,
I was
not
like
at all.
it took me back so much. Like who the fuck's playing her? Who is that? I'm like, oh shit, that's Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
the outfit. I mean, the
But-
costume.
I gotta
is dead on.
say, the things they did with Strange's costume here,
No, the pocket
Gave
square.
me-
Oh god,
a huge boner. Just like
when he,
him jumping off the thing and just the costume coming out. The
That was
cape
smooth as
magically
silk.
appearing.
Oh yeah.
And then the thing at the end here where he's wearing this stupid ass shirt buttoned all the way up like some asshole from 2022. And then just like, twirling around and he's like ready to go.
I think it's technically 2025 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't know what year.
2025,
I
2026.
just still maintain
Yes.
that people who button up their collars without wearing a tie are assholes.
Okay. All right. Duly noted.
Dude, it's the Darkhold. Darkhold
one-
doesn't let him wear a tie anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
The last thing I'll say about Doctor Strange, the very last thing, is that like his fake wig and beard are so obvious in this film,
yes,
like blatantly obvious.
Yeah, they're still bad.
This was
he looks like an action figure.
Donovan. This was the first movie where he actually grew the goatee for real. I shit you not. That's
So the
just can't grow hair.
He's shaved for that. then.
Yes.
The wig is bad. The
Yeah.
wig is terrible.
He shaved for that, but the rest of that's probably like one of the last scenes that they did, more than likely. Because
Was it fake in the previous films?
it was, yes.
Interesting,
Yeah. So that's
because it looks so like fully formed in this movie.
yeah.
All right, everybody get yourself a close-up. What do you got going on?
This is garbage, okay?
Come on,
This thing is
no.
garbage.
I
Bring that
shaved like
iPad
the
up
other
to
day because
face.
I couldn't groom it. Probably should have just hacked it all off.
See, I
I'll never
just
do this
I
again.
trimmed mine this morning. And noticed
I trimmed the bottom bit today.
I have this
This is
big
months
Chris, what you
ago.
got?
won't grow.
Sorry, I just shaved.
And this
'cause-
over here.
You know what's funny is that no, what's really funny, and I will say this, like whenever I do shave my face, I do look like 10 years younger, and I'm like, how?
Dead skin. That's it.
Get rid of all
those
that
dead
peach
skin
fuzz.
off. Yep. That's the way it works.
I do have dark hair on my face though, and it's sad.
Hey, since we mentioned Charlize Theron and we mentioned The Boys, who's watching The Boys?
My mother.
I
Hi,
haven't watched a
Mom!
single episode yet.
Okay.
I
Dude,
feel bad.
Hero
but-
Gasm was great,
Yes.
but also way overhyped.
Like in the comic.
Yes, exactly.
Like in the comic.
No,
Yeah.
Everybody at work.
I did not read The Boys as it came out, so when I got to Hero
I did.
Gasm, it was great, and it was gross at the same time. And then having read that, watching the hype for Hero Gasm, expecting the same level of bacchanal or debauchery, only on an island, only to have it be like on a tiny little farm in Iowa.
Yeah.
It was like, this screams TV budget versus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And also
everybody at work is always like, "You love The Boys. I love you love The Boys." But I read the original comic and it was so bad.
I agree.
Like it is a hard time. I mean, I know for a fact the show's better.
The first,
it's better. It's way better.
But it is a hard time when it be over.
I gave up after issue 50 of the comic. I couldn't read past that. Like right.
I read the whole thing, and it's just the outlook isn't. I don't agree with the outlook.
I agree.
That's my problem with the book. Like the Boys doesn't appeal to me because it is such a I don't say like I'll say it's a mean-spirited look at superheroes. And
the tone is the same all the way throughout the 72 issues. It's exactly the same.
Yes.
And like
it's get tired of it.
But it's very much like
it's one note.
It's one note, and like it. Like I get that it's taking the piss out of like superheroes in general. Like, oh yeah, superheroes be fucking idiots if they're in real life. But like I think like it's just that it doesn't speak to me because it's not really saying anything that I don't already know or don't already agree with.
And the show, I honest to God feels like is so much better than the comic for many reasons. One of which is that you do actually feel like you're getting to know these characters and they're not just like one note in that way. Even the assholes, even the flaming assholes on the show, which are many, including a lot of our heroes. Like Butcher is not a good person.
He never was.
Yeah.
Also, the literal flaming assholes too.
Yes, that too. Yes. But I definitely feel like we're getting more story out of the show than we ever got out of the comic.
More story,
that's been enough confirmed.
Sure.
I mean, I can't speak to the show, and I know that like I think you guys have talked about wanting to talk about it, but I'll just say that like I've been in my like optimism mode this year. Like I truly, genuinely, really loved like Turning Red, and I'm much more kind of on that vibe than like seeing like them the All-Stars fan scene with like the girl on the rooftop. Like I get that like that this kind of show is necessary, this kind of storytelling to like sort of subvert the genre and twist it to kind of tell stories about it. But I mean that's like really grim, and like with the Supreme Court running rampant and like living in like a red state and stuff, like I don't need that in my media.
That's fine.
Which isn't to say that like this doesn't deserve to be here. It's just like personally for me, it's not. I'm not of this conversation. I'll take my violence with Arnold Schwarzenegger and laugh at it rather than live with it in real life and in the media.
I'm a very vulnerable person in a pandemic that's still going on, and I'm bleeding from my left eye. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
I don't need to criticize all these icons that I grew up enjoying. I just want to relax.
You want to have fun. Umbrella Academy season 3 is. I still
watch the first two.
I know you do, Raph. You never watch anything. What I will say is, again, take the basic premise of the comic and then go in a separate direction. They're the same characters.
To finish reading the comic.
Yeah, they're different enough to still have the heart of the characters, but go where they need to go. And
so you're telling me the one indie comic you made me read, and that I really liked from our review corner, and they took the theme and they took the style and they threw it out the fucking window.
No, not at all.
And you want
to
enjoy it?
Style's still there, dude. Style's still there. And actually, so are the basis of the characters, so's the basic premise of the show, so's like so much of the story, but also it does its own thing like any good TV show should. You shouldn't be beholden entirely to the source material, no matter what. Otherwise, you just read the damn comic. Like
for all the CGS listeners who haven't been listening for years, like friends like Matthew Guy, that was a deep cut reference to our days when we were sponsored by a different company.
Yep.
We did this thing called Review Corner, and
Yep.
Ian got me to read an independent comic book every single month.
You hated every single one of them.
Fucking hated every single one except for Umbrella Academy.
Exactly. Although I guarantee you, if you went back now and you read half that shit, you probably like it more.
I don't think I would enjoy Beast of Burden or the Doctor Who comic still.
Okay.
I like Beast of Burden.
You might actually like. You might actually like Beast of Burden.
It's horror animals. What's not to like about animals?
You wouldn't like Doctor Who though, but yeah, Beast of Burden you may very well like. But Chris, how far into season 3 are you at this point?
I think it was episode 4. So way at the back at the beginning of this, you mentioned Murd. Like I had a Murd moment today because I'm watching these episodes and they walk up to the Hotel Oblivion. And I'm like, oh, are they actually doing the third story arc of the comic? The one I haven't read. Wait a minute. And
that third story arc is bad though.
I go down to my coffee table and I dig out and I find issue 2 and 3. I've been sitting there since they came out. I haven't read them, and I'm like, shit.
I haven't read Umbrella Academy since the first volume, and that was back in 2000 for the first volume was released.
I think
so that's also why
2 is great. The third volume, Hotel Oblivion, was just a mishmash to me. To me, I don't know about you, Ian, but they took like almost way too much time off in between volumes that I feel like they lost a lot of steam in that third comic volume.
Which is another reason why I'm glad that the show is just, it's taking basic concepts and premises and then making its own story out of it, because I think that what you get out of this third season continues the character arcs and the development while also introducing, slight spoiler, the world is just basically reshaped after the end of season 2, and they land and they're no longer at home like they should be. It's basically the Sparrows world, and something happened where the Umbrellas basically never got together, and instead the Sparrows are living in their house, and we go from there, and we find out more about the Sparrows themselves, and who they are, why they are, and also why the world may potentially be ending again in season 3. But that's honestly, they do a good job of building it, and that's really all they had to do.
I'll also point out they have to do things differently because season 3, of course, deals with the fact that Elliot Page has transitioned.
Yes, that is true.
So they want to have the character transition.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually write that in rather than just doing it. And I feel like they did have to address it, considering that the character of Vanya is very unique.
Definitely.
In a way. She was the driving force of the first volume of the comic.
Mm-hmm.
So, they can't just kind of be like, oh, yeah, Vanya is Victor now, and just ignore it. I thought most of the scenes that I've seen so far have been pretty nice, though I will admit I'm getting tired of the thank you for telling me your truth thing is just really grating. I don't know.
That's something people type. That's not what they say.
Yeah. As someone who never actually came out of the closet, I'm a little baffled by that whole thing. So I'll admit, I'm not the best person to really talk about that. As I joke, it's don't have to come out of the closet if you were never in there.
They don't really harp on it too much. Once he gets settled, basically, it's Victor is Victor, and that's what the character is now. And then they basically move on from there to the actual story arc for Victor and the rest of the characters. So yeah, getting there is the somewhat clunky part.
Better hair, at least.
Very true. Yes. Yep. Although you can also tell where he was in transition by what scenes are when and what his voice sounds like. But that's
interesting.
That's all part of it.
I was researching for a podcast episode that just came out that we did on my own show, and I was watching Elliot Page's old show Gaycation, which was a Vice show.
Yeah.
And when he and friend Ian went into Japan, and this is before Elliot transitioned, but there were interesting moments in that episode, like the reading hentai and stuff, and or something, and then Elliot said stuff like, "Oh, this makes me want to have a dick" or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's something to notice, like something that is impossible to just skim over. Yeah. I'm really serious. Well,
wait, so you were talking about this on your podcast?
I didn't mention that, but that episode.
He's way more safer on his own podcast. Than
but didn't you also talk about your podcast? in 2008, how four young men survived.
For fuck's sake.
God damn it, Raph.
So I actually forgot to mention that,
Okay, that's fine.
but I told my co-host about it after the recording, and like we were just like LOLing about it.
I feel like are we
so
going to
LOL.
edit this out of the final thing, or are we going to explain it?
We'll explain it because, frankly,
Yeah, that might be the good way to end this show because I'll point out we've been.
oh,
going
I
on a while now.
know, yeah.
Surprise, we went over.
MegaCon.
I'll just paint a picture.
Yeah.
We were at MegaCon,
Yes.
and this is where Brett learned of what Yuri and Yaoi was in Japanese manga.
Yes, indeed.
But I only learned about it
5 days
after
earlier.
the fact, in the post-visit recording on a different episode of Comic Timing, when these guys told this story, and I went, what the fuck is that? And what were you guys talking about? And what is Yuri and what is Yaoi? And then they explained this whole story to me, and they explained to me what Yuri and Yaoi was.
Yes.
And I was like,
Art, Brent.
a what?
Yes. Girl on girl or guy on guy.
Now, this was
when it comes to manga.
2008 or 9?
Eight.
Yes.
8. I just started working in Midtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the year that
So in the year of wokeism, this was a long time ago. So
My birthday. It was the weekend of my birthday.
Iron Man had just come out and we went to Florida.
Mhm.
Actually, Iron Man had not come out yet. Iron Man
No,
was
it was
about to come out.
May.
It had not.
Yeah.
this is March. MegaCon
Yeah.
was always in March until they moved it a few years ago.
And yeah, it was my birthday weekend because I remember because we did like a birthday dinner.
Yeah, we went to fucking Fridays.
We didn't go to Friday.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Oh,
No, we went.
we went to that
Fridays.
biker bar.
With
I thought
the
we went to
CGS guys.
Oh, yeah, we
Right.
did go to CGS.
Fridays
guys.
was CGS.
Yeah, that's right.
But for you
And then we
guys,
went to the biker bar with Adam and Comfort. Right?
and then we.
No.
What year did we
Fridays
do?
with-
What year did we do Steak and Ale?
That was the same year. That was the last year of
Okay.
Steak and Ale.
Got it. Okay.
We did steak and ale like the night before.
Yeah.
And then
That
we did
wasn't with
hibachi the last night.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we did hibachi with you.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was all really good.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I remember. The food was
Mhm.
really good.
Yep. Except for
But,
Fridays.
But oh god, so what was it? So that was it that Saturday or was it that Friday that happened?
I think it was.
It was a Saturday and a
Saturday.
Sunday
Yeah.
because there was one on
So-
Sunday too.
Yeah, so Saturday we were leaving the con. It was about 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and BK had just interviewed Mark Wade,
Yes.
and we were
Yeah,
riding.
that was one of the
high.
last things we
Mhm.
did.
Yep. We
Yeah,
were walking out.
walking out, riding high, and the way you left the con at the time was you had to go up the escalator
Mm-hmm.
because it was below ground level.
Yes.
And we were there, and you didn't really hear much, but there was a little din of like, Yuri, Yuri, Yuri. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Okay, cool, whatever. And as we began to crest up the escalator,
Full
it
blown.
just got
yell.
louder and louder. And then all of a sudden, the escalator stopped moving.
Oh.
That means you got off the escalator.
Uh-huh.
No. It stopped moving because the amount of people were being blocked by the chants.
By the chanting crowd, yes.
Uh-huh.
They were literally in the middle of the I guess the main entrance, shouting Yuri and Yaoi, and it was like a gay manga turf war, as you said back then. It was literally the Sharks and the Jets. They had paddles. They had
Oh, I remember the paddles.
what else
Oh
they
God.
had?
Yeah, no, keep going. Keep going.
They
I
had
remember
paddles.
the paddles.
They had paddles. They had the fans. It was literally like a Japanese. They had Japanese cheer crowd, like the fans and kimonos just going back and forth. And Yaoi. And
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
were all like leaning in and then leaning back and then leaning in and then leaning back. It was
and I'm-
rhythmic and frightening
it was
to see little weebs like that.
Eh.
it
So
was
many
the most
weebs.
horrifying
I
yet
feel like 15 years later, you're embellishing this a little bit, Raph.
It was pretty. It was something. It was something.
it was the
It
most
also implies that like
horrifying.
Yuri and Yaoi are like rivals that like don't like each other.
And
Rather
that's-
than
but
probably reading
that's-
both.
but that's what it was. The manga. It was the gay manga turf war of 2008. That's what it was.
I was going to say, this is 2008. You probably didn't read both at that time.
Yeah.
No, it was.
was-
No,
was-
one
Now
is
we
definitely
make
way more
ourselves.
popular than the other, and it's
In
not the one you
2008,
think.
you were either into one or the other.
All right.
This was pre Tumblr. This was pre AO3. This was still like fanfiction.net. Let's go on. Let's go on. Fucking
Zanga,
Zanga,
MySpace.
Zanga,
MySpace. Hell, I think even like maybe LiveJournal was still around at the time. Also, Dead Journal was still
Probably,
around.
Yep.
Probably.
All right. Well,
So,
now that the world knows about 2008 MegaCon, I feel like let's just go around the table, talk about literally real quick. You don't even have to like review it or whatever. Just let some people know some good stuff you've been reading lately, since we haven't even actually gotten to that point yet, and we're 3 hours in, so clearly that ain't happening this episode. So,
maybe you should have an episode more than every 6 months.
Yeah, maybe I will. Dono, what you been reading lately?
Fat cap.
What do you think? What do you got?
Okay, real quick. Still Nightwing. Still really digging it. Tom
Amen.
Taylor and Bruno Redondo. I was really mad when Spider-Man Beyond ended. What they did to Ben Reilly again. Like
Spider-Man Beyond was terrible.
I ranted on Twitter, and I don't care how that sounds because I know that Twitter is like a joke. But like I was like, seriously, fuck you, Marvel. That being said, I'm very much enjoying Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man.
Same here.
Despite like everything, because I don't like Zeb Wells on Spider-Man, but this has got me, and I really am enjoying it right now. So
best remaining junior
ASM.
art in years. Best remaining junior art in years. So
yeah, because Scott Hanna's inking him and not Klaus Janson finally.
Yep.
That last issue twist, that one that just came out like last week, was great.
Haven't read it yet, so but
Phenomenal.
I'll get there. Yep.
So so like ASM again.
Excellent. Brandon, anything?
Yeah, Nightwing. Echo on that. Honestly, like Pitch Perfect Nightwing comic. I'm loving everything that they're doing with the post SF Alfred, trying to like really commemorate what he stood for and what he really did for Bat Family.
Yeah.
X-Men also.
Yep.
Any X books are still going solid, still going strong.
Duggan's done a shockingly good job of picking up the pieces. Like, he's really good.
Yeah. Anything posted for now, still fucking excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And not comic book related, but I guess kind of geek media related. Critical Role just did a 4-episode miniseries called Exandria Limited Calamity. And it is the most heartbreaking thing I have seen in a very long time.
Okay.
And it's deeply affecting.
All right, fair enough. Raph?
Haven't been reading much because of the eye thing, but the last thing I did read was, what was it? I started to read that Thor Hulk crossover that just finished.
Mm-hmm.
I read I've been reading Shang-Chi, Jin Lun Yang Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi's been really good. It was like Shang-Chi versus it. Like they basically had like a bunch of Marvel characters cameo and like try to stop him while his sister turned evil. Let's see, what else was there? What you call it? Not that one. Iron Fist, the new Iron Fist. I'm in like issue 3 of that. That one's pretty solid.
Nice.
Because they finally, listened to me after all these years. And
Mark Bernardin had it first.
Yeah, that's true. And other stuff. I mean, Chris is probably going to talk about it, but fucking Strange New Worlds is amazing.
It's so good,
and I love it so much.
So
and,
freaking good.
We've been DMing, and I don't know.
Yep,
something's going to happen. Maybe not. I don't
know. Brent.
I just read Batman Fortress #2, and I gotta say, it's really fucking good.
Good.
Derek Robertson on art, Gary Whitta, who wrote Star Wars Rogue One. It's a Batman comic that's not afraid to take chances.
Is it Black Label?
Some really wild things. I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, it's if it's not, it's still out of continuity. It's a standalone thing. Really enjoying that. Gosh, Tom Taylor.
I think I saw it on the shelf. That's why I asked.
That's still the Dark Knights of Steel. Really good. Really enjoying that. Elseworlds Tale. And I gotta say, Kirkman's Firepower, still bringing it. Still bringing the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoying that. Chris Samney's fucking phenomenal. As the guy who saw him on I don't know what it was, Ages of Thunder or God of Thunder back in the day, and fucking hated his art style, I love him now. I mean, I loved him on Daredevil, but now on Firepower, he is just, chef's kiss.
Beautiful.
Oh, and Zdarsky, was it Zdarsky that did Daredevil before that event?
Yes.
That was really, I just finished that. That was really fucking good.
Is he done now?
No, he's still going.
I just read everything up to that big event with Wilson Fisk.
They're relaunching it. They're relaunching Daredevil. I don't know if it's Daredevils plural, but
No, I think it's just Daredevil.
Zdarsky's still around.
Yeah, it's just
Yes,
Daredevil. It's just a
his
new volume.
issue of Batman is dropping next week.
Yeah.
That's also happening.
It's a new volume of Daredevil. I'm not sure if he's going to be exclusive with DC now that he's with Batman, but for now he's still on Daredevil until at least the end of
They
the
still got Jorge Jimenez on Batman. I'm still happy.
There you go.
Jorge's so good. I love this Justice League stuff.
Chris, you been reading anything or want to shout anything out?
I've actually been reading a lot. It's a shame that we have no time now.
Take as much time as you want.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
No,
well,
seriously, please.
I mean, the first thing I'll mention, and Ian's heard me mention this a bunch of times, that Adam Ellis, the guy who does Adam Tots, he has the comic all the time, and everybody know him best from the Let People Enjoy Things comic, has a new book called Fever Nights, and it's not really a comic. What it says on the cover is it's a fake strategy guide, and it's basically written like a strategy guide, but it's for a game that does not exist. So it has character biographies, it has item descriptions, NPC descriptions, villain descriptions, and it has the strategies for how to beat them. It gives you the little story teasers for the different, worlds that you have to visit in it. And, it's written just like an old strategy guide would be written, where, and he said in the intros that he didn't have a lot of video games as a kid, but his mom worked in a bookstore. So he would read the strategy guides, and that was the only way he could experience a lot of games. So I thought it was a really impressive way to deliver like this fantasy story, The other thing I will mention is that, of course, on Hulu right now, they're basically simulcasting Spy X Family.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can watch it every week, or
that's the flavor of the month right now for sure.
Yeah, I used to. I say I used to because I've fallen way behind. I read the manga on the Shonen Jump app, which again I will always recommend to people because again it is $2 a month. Though they might raise it soon because they actually sent me a survey like, how much would you pay? And I'm like, this is a trap. This is a trap. I am not paying.
Don't you dare answer.
I would pay 50 cents. I would pay exactly 50 cents.
I was like, $3. That's it. Because I know some people are going to be like $1. And I'm like, no, don't do this, man. As long as it doesn't go above $5, I'm actually fine with it. But Spy X Family, just to give the short description, is you think of it as it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where there's a spy and he needs to get close to the prime minister of the opposing country. And the only way to do that is by meeting the guy at a social event for the guy's kid's school. So he has to adopt a kid, get her into the school, get her into the special social mixers for the high achieving students. And, he ends up with this little telepathic kid who basically just tells him whatever he wants to hear, so she's kind of an idiot, to be honest, but it's because, she's pretending to be 6 when she's only 4. Also, it's the summer of Chris. I am taking the summer off, so I am just not working.
The summer of Chris.
Yeah, summer of Chris. But yeah, no, what makes Spy X Family especially funny is eventually he has to go and get a wife because, they have to be a nuclear family to present at this hoity-toity school. And the woman the woman he ends up fake marrying is actually an assassin for the other country. So it is literally I was reading a write-up that said that it's kind of brilliant because nobody actually knows what's really going on except for the little telepathic girl. So she's the audience surrogate.
Nice.
So yeah, I do recommend watching it or reading it right now. Sorry if that went a little long, but
no, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
It is the flavor of the month, but it is the flavor of the month for a reason. It's just bizarre and weird. It's everything you want out of anime. When you look at anime and you want that stereotypical weirdness, this is it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would just say I'm rereading Fables for my YouTube channel. I've not rereading, but I only read up to the first half of the first 150 issues.
Yeah.
So I'm almost at the halfway mark. It is still fucking so good.
Yeah.
That first half is so fucking good.
I need to actually finish it because I never did, and I
finished it.
Yeah, and frankly, now that it's continuing, I certainly do need to because everything I've heard about the revival is that it's basically picking up where it left off, just as good as it ever was. So, and it's pretty cool that they're going back to the original numbering. That it's not just a volume 2 or whatever. That it's just straight up picking up where the series left off. So that's pretty cool. Recent reads for me and things that I recommend. Obviously, I'm on the Nightwing train. Also, the Son of Kal-El series. Also, the Tom Taylor's writing continues to be terrific stuff. Dark Crisis #1. I gave it a read before we got on the call today, and I will say that I'm still in on Dark Crisis. I think that this is probably one of the few crossovers DC's done over the past couple of years where it just feels old school in like all the right ways.
Well,
like
it is baby's first crisis, so
basically. Williamson was great on Flash, and I still stand by his Birthright comic. If you haven't read that, go read that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
great.
wondering about like his other stuff has not been as good as his Flash run or Birthright. So I'm hesitant to give it a full endorsement, but so far, like I did enjoy Dark Crisis #1,
and the art is gorgeous. The art is absolutely gorgeous.
Germanico has been fantastic ever since he was doing like fucking stuff with Injustice with Bruno Redondo, who's Tom Taylor found them, but their editor on the Injustice Weekly comic found them both. And needs a raise because he found these great artists, and
seriously, they
were stuck on the Injustice Weekly comic for years, for like the last 10 years.
Yep.
And now him, Daniel Sampere, Bruno Redondo, Germanico have all graduated. They're all phenomenal artists.
Yep. Yeah. And I also reiterate, Amazing Spider-Man has been great so far, and the She-Hulk comic I want to recommend also.
I read that first issue, yeah.
Yeah, Rainbow Rowell on She-Hulk so far has been the best She-Hulk since Dan Slott. It's great stuff. Everything that's going on, like it's basically a reset of the character, but in a good way, where like she's living in Wasp's old apartment, basically because Wasp is not there, that Janet Van Dyne is elsewhere, and she's rebuilding her life from the ground up as a lawyer again, trying to figure out everything that's in her future essentially, and it's a good way to go. So yeah, good stuff. Rainbow Rowell.
So I know that, like Chris mentioned in our message, I'm not read nor seen it. But like, shout out to Heartstopper, the other flavor of the month.
Oh, yeah, good point. Oh, and for that matter, the Orville new season, absolutely terrific. Some of the best spacefaring action, drama, excitement, funny, great times that I've had in years. It is so good.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Heartstopper yet. I didn't really. I've been on vacation this past few days, so I haven't gotten really around. I mean, mind you, it came out before that, but I wanted to watch it a little bit before the show, but we're not really having a lot of time.
Yeah.
I do want to mention before we sign off that yes, I was in Toronto, so it became a mini comics vacation because I wanted to go to Casa Loma ever since I read Scott Pilgrim, and then I got so excited when I was walking up the street and I saw the stairs. I was like, it was a thrill. I was like, Chris Evans can't grind down these. There's little bumps all over the railings. He would have freaking died at the top of them.
That's why him making as far as is epic. Yeah. So did you ever see a girl with hair like this?
You mean Ramona Flowers?
Yeah, her.
Yeah, I might have. I tried to go to the Beguiling, but they're actually not open for in-person shopping. They're like most of the week, which kind of annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I did go to the TCAF official store. That's called Pages and Panels, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a very nice store. They didn't have as many zines as I wanted, but it was a nice little store.
Nice.
I'm just that shout out. I figure it's relevant, because again, I just came back from there, and that was my little I'm going to be a comics nerd.
I tried to go to 1811 Comics while I was up in Buffalo this last weekend, but they were closed for vacation. But they're inside of an old mill. In one of the historic areas of Buffalo, and you were able to still walk inside on the first floor, and there was this awesome standee of movie Spider-Man in the ice cream robe for the ice cream place that's also in the same building. So
well, that's not the original.
No, it's not.
That's like Spider-Man 2, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That looks like Spider-Man 2 to me. Yep.
Yeah, the original
that was at my store for a long time.
Yeah.
The original was at Midtown Forever, and I know it anywhere.
Yeah, there were some of the other images that I got pictures of. Like, there's all these awesome pictures on the wall of the guy who owns the place, and some Simpsons art and people that he's met. Signed Adam West also that I got a picture that I didn't get a picture of. But then there's these very, very cool Groot and.
Can you throw up the photo I sent you from the beguiling? Actually, since you disabled screen sharing, like the evil puppet master.
Yeah, let me see if I could find it real quick in Messenger. But how long ago was that? That was a while. Oh yeah,
Monday. It was Monday, dude.
Yes,
Monday.
Oh, I do want to ask, while Ian's looking, what do you guys consider the most famous comic shops in the world?
That's an excellent question.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I know that could turn into a whole show on its own, but just off the top.
and Mile High.
I visited Midtown for the first time in April when I was visiting in New York.
Something you knew me.
I would say Golden Apple, but I don't know if that exists anymore.
I think it kind of still does.
I think it does. Yeah.
How famous is Miss Secret Stash?
Only if you're
pretty famous.
No, I've been there.
It's small. It's smaller than you'd think it'd be.
It is.
I was almost on their reality show.
Same here. High five.
What did
we're
they
gonna
just
do
move
a
to a bigger
rivalry.
place?
Yeah. The original location's small.
Is this it? This is it, right?
Well, I'm sorry,
What
yes, that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Basically, you can pick up your list, but you can't actually do any in-store browsing. I was mostly annoyed because I was like, it's one of the most famous shops in North America, if not the world. Why are you doing this to me?
I think they switched a while ago. I think I was still at Diamond when they switched to this system.
Really?
If I remember right.
Interesting.
So it's been a couple of years that they've been like, because I think they just decided to switch models because it wasn't working out for them.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
I went to this shop in Melbourne, Florida, which is like on the beach last week, and they had an entire wall of DC trades, an entire wall of Marvel trades, and it was all up to date, and they had all the old stuff too, and I was really impressed.
Nice
compared to the fucking chain here in Orlando, which is terrible.
I'll add Forbidden Planet and Isotope to the list as well. I think
Tefal.
Tefal.
World.
Yep, Tefal is pretty high up there too.
I guess
I would have said Meltdown, but they're gone.
DCBS.
Yeah.
The place Ian took me is famous because Ian always talked about it.
Oh,
Jim Doctor
Hanley's?
Strange went there.
Yes,
Jensen's.
Jim Hanley's.
Jim Hanley's.
Yes.
Hanley's universe. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that doesn't exist in the way it used to.
Well, I mean, it's still there. It's just a smaller store now. On
more like a spiritual successor.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nick. Who really does not listen to the show, but
yeah, but they're JHU Comics these days. They basically a bunch of people who used to work at the original Jim Hanley's took it over, and now it's just straight up JHU. So
I guess for being local, I'll say Amalgam Comics Philadelphia, since that was probably I think that's the first Black owned.
I still want to go. I haven't been yet.
Yeah,
nice.
I didn't get a chance to go there when I was in Philly last, but I'll definitely try to make it happen. Maybe when I'm in town for Unplugged.
Ooh, yeah. We'll do a day trip.
Yep,
it's right there. So
which will hopefully go on sale soon if it's happening. So yeah. All right, guys, we're just about at the 3-hour mark, so I'm going to call it. We'll definitely try to do this more than every 6 freaking months this time around. Maybe at least every 2 months if we can try to commit to that.
Or it's like next week.
Yeah, I know.
Just remember, we were your original chick, not your side chick.
I remember very well, Brent.
Better.
December 31st, baby.
Yes.
Look. I know we're old and busted now, but don't forget the.
I'm not trading you guys in for a new model, okay? I promise. I absolutely.
I mean, literally, they're all older than us.
That's
exactly.
already happened. I just want you to drive us more often.
Brent, will you just pimp your YouTube channel already? Where can they find you?
You can find me at YouTube. Just search BK's Bullets, and I will be there.
Excellent, Brando.
Doing a podcast, or actually a live play podcast with the Wrath. Called POC. I guess we can announce it now. So hooray!
Please, only crits.
Yes, please only crits. It's a POC only live play D&D live play podcast. Still have some stuff on the side over here on Twitter, the Dabadon.
So can I play?
No.
No.
Can I play? I'm Jewish.
Please only crits. I don't know what that means.
Can I play? I'm Jewish. No?
No, sorry.
I would like to see an all Jew game, though.
I've never played.
What? Yeah. I rolled a 20. What do you want to argue with me for? All right, it's a natural 20. I don't care if it doesn't count in skill checks.
See, now you just sound like David.
My wife and I were watching.
He is the last person I saw, so.
We were watching Stranger Things season 4, and she was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never really played."
2 hours.
Oh my god!
I think
20-sided Dai Dayenu. That would be the name of the old Jewish D&D group.
that is a reference.
That is pretty damn good, and I'm holding on to that. And nobody better steal that.
Is this game based off chest hair? Because I've got as much as Donovan.
Hey, yo, Donovan, what do you got? What are you pimping?
Questions we don't have answers. It's my main gig. This week we just came out with an episode, essentially comparing how Japan's queer culture correlates to how they treat their queer community and how that compares to America.
Nice.
QNoasis.com. Also find me on Twitter at DonoDMG1 on Twitter. Thank you. Also, every time I'm always happy to be on the show.
We're always happy to have you, man.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, Dono, your aunt followed me on Twitter. I'm like, oh my god.
Did she really?
I don't think the show happens without Dono on anymore. I think you're part of the cast.
Basically, I should change the opening from rotating panel to sometimes Jamal is here and sometimes he's not. That's
pretty much.
Yeah, it's really just
aunt, Debbie Morgan, the actress.
Nice.
Which is fine with me.
Raph?
All my social medias, Raph does stuff. I have a website. I think I have to renew the thing, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Cool.
I write for some comics website or whatever occasionally.
What?
Lists for them.
Is it a resource of comic books?
It used to be. It's just CBR now. So CBR.com.
What does CBR stand for?
It used to stand for comic book resource. It's like KFC. They don't. You're not going to see comic book resources listed anywhere on it. I don't think. It's just CBR now. It's a pop culture site now.
It's called Cool Bros Rock, CBR.
Sure, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't been on the front page in a day or two, so I don't really remember.
And Chris, what do you got?
A day or two.
Well, since it is the summer of Chris, I don't really have any projects right now. I've just been kind of comatose for the past 2 months. You can find me at Lampbane and at Chris Naudis on Twitter. The latter, you'll probably see whatever new projects. I'll tweet them out. I'll work on some magazines and some websites and stuff. But, mostly I'm just chilling, relaxing, acting all cool.
Shooting some
b-ball, but I don't go to school.
Yeah, it hurts me so much.
I will say, and I'll say this because I want Ian to commit to it.
Yes,
is that Ian, me, and Raph, and maybe my mom, we'd have a next point episode where we just talk about Star Trek and the Orville.
Hell yes. that I want that. I want that happening sooner than later. So we can definitely plan that. I just need to catch up on Strange New Worlds. Once I'm caught up, it'll probably be the end of this week, more than likely. So.
The logical snack to bring to that discussion would be to Pringles. Because once you pop, you are unable to cease.
Email address for Comic Timing is comictiming@gmail.com. You can check us out at facebook.com/comic timing. If you want to talk more comics and comic-related stuff with us fine folks. You can also check us out at the Comic Geek Speak supergroup, as we'll be posting this to the main Comic Geek Speak site at comicgeekspeak.com, along with our site at comictiming.net. So we thank Comic Geek Speak for allowing us to do so. I'm at Twitter at I_AM_sci-fi. And you can also follow me on Instagram at that same link. So for Casina, for Chris, for Raph, for Donovan, and for Brandon, I'm Ian Levacy, reminding everybody out there that there's always time for comics.